trust a brandy buck and a toque.
What? That was just a detour. A shortcut.
Shortcut to what?
The mushrooms.
Is that how we're going to start the recording, Jack?
Probably.
You're going to play the intro music and then just fade straight into...
We have to actually create the intro music. I mean, I could use the same one as we're using on the...
I figure so.
Yeah, and just cut it to our... doing that, like, newsreel... little nonsense.
Like, as when we do the newsreel, we're like, welcome to part 1.
Ah, yeah,
Welcome to part 2.
Moving picture.
Moving picture.
Oh, are you ready?
Go for it.
Did we finish? Yeah, we finished up with the more...
Yeah, we finished with that.
Yeah, Guy, Warrior, Captain, Leader.
What the fuck's going on there? Okay, welcome back. On to the next one.
Let's go with Andreas. Let's start again.
Yeah, okay. I just want to check something real quick.
Okay.
Different font?
Yep, different, different, I don't know if it's different font, it's just different what? Tone? Different colour, different tone to the... Anyway.
It's definitely a different font.
Different font? Okay, cool. Consistency's average, we don't need that.
Consistency is in fact key, yeah.
Alright, we've got Hayden C, the host of the Dragon Emperor, so I would assume this is the... Legendary Legion, awesome. So you got, obviously, the Dragon Emperor of Ruin, leading, full warband, everything, Black Dragon, Cataphract with Drum, we talked about how key that is. And then we've got Borgia with the Drake, single Drake, and then Rutabi with a mixture of Acolytes and more Warriors, which aren't Black Dragons from what I can see here, because I think
it does look that way.
Yeah, it does look that the way. Brutish War Drakes are scary, man.
Yeah.
Like they are mincy. I'm interested with one. I think 2 would probably be ideal. They're only, what, 20 points? 25 points?
20-ish points?
I think they're 20 exactly.
20 points each? Yeah, they're nutting. Like, -1 fight, -1 strength for the rest of the game is ridiculous.
Especially, like, there's, like, I'd say, I don't think I've seen any lists that I would describe as Horde that aren't Hobbits.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And therefore, if you can chuck one of them into a hero and get 1 wound,
that's all you need.
That value is insane.
Ridiculous. For 20 points, like, you've got to include them.
I mean,
I'm glad he included 1, you know.
There's nothing it can't affect, is that right?
Nope.
It just can't stack more than once.
Correct.
So you could pop it on the Balrog and suddenly you got an unstrikeable Fight 9.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
That's correct.
Alright.
I think obviously Hayden's made the right choice, in my opinion, taking those 2 lovely named heroes.
Yeah.
Borgia and Rutabi are just
They're
really
good.
nice looking heroes. They're really well statted. They're quite well costed, and if you weren't running them, I would argue why not.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly not going to argue against taking them.
Getting the extra might, getting the, obviously, spells that are reasonably unique to Borgia.
And the fact that you get to retain your will on a casting roll of 6 is huge.
It won't go off very often, but when it does...
It'll go off well.
Yeah, you'll be like, cool, I am happy. Only 2 cap. Yeah. Something to consider.
That is true.
Well, and that's what we talk about in terms of hoarding lists, right? Like, it's a lot of dudes doesn't really matter if you've got a lot of dudes.
Yeah.
You know, mounting is nice, but having, you know, 2 or 3 times as many models as the opponent is just, it's as good as having a mountain force.
I think it's the only list I've seen so far outside the Hobbits that are all named heroes for a conventional. I know the Gondor had Bannermere here in Magic. Okay. It is.
Smaug did take all of the named heroes.
I don't.
Yes, well done,
I hope so. Thank you, Jack. Well done.
Pick up
No,
on
it's
those
not.
technicalities.
Well rounded.
That's what I'm here for.
You don't need much cab when you got the drum every turn. Yeah, that's good.
True.
Wait. Hayden C.
Oh,
Hayden. Oh!
This list.
There is a difference.
Now, this list is one that did pique interests.
I mean...
So it's the Iron Hills and the Halls of Thranduil.
Yes.
Dane, Lord of Iron Hills, with Boar,
Yeah.
taking a complement of warriors. There is a banner in there, but there's a lot of warriors with spear. Do the Iron Hills warrior come with a shield as a default option?
No.
They do not.
They do
Surely.
not, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
No,
If you're taking 12 with spear
I don't think
and your
so.
other warband is 10 with spear, and your other ones don't have any, they must come with shield as a
Iron
default.
Hills.
I play the good dwarf factions. I don't play Iron Hills, I'm sorry. I like to pay for my shields.
And then, as one of the counterpoints to the having no shooting argument that we had with some of the other Iron Hells list,
Yes.
allied in with Legolas with horse.
Iron Hells doing back counter shield.
Yeah, must
There you go. It's a bargain.
In that case,
I like
that's a
that.
lot of spears.
It's what, 22 spears,
Out of
2 warriors.
24 warriors at 23 of those spears.
Yeah, right.
Those spears.
Fuck, hold on.
I mean, you're never gonna run out of support options.
Yo, what's up, brother?
I'm keeping that in.
Good, man.
So we lost Jack, as you can see.
We'll finish this.
We'll finish this list and then.
Look, the Legolas with horse is when you say, "Hey, you don't have any shooting answers," you go, "Cool, I'll bring the greatest shooting threat in the game," right? Except maybe argued where you get the infinite theoretical shots with the constant hits on Bard.
It's not infinite, is it? I thought it's up to 3.
Oh, is it up to 3?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's up to 3, same as Girion.
I've never seen him hit 3, so I just assumed it was
I
infinite.
just, yeah. My assumption is that you probably not. The better you are at something, the worse you are at doing it. So
So yeah, Legolas with horse is a solid ally option.
it's also the fastest thing in the list.
True.
If you need to get somewhere fast, it's gonna do you wonders. You got the march from the captain on goat, which should keep up with Legolas.
And Legolas on a horse can hold his own on an objective, or
Yeah.
even in Maelstrom, if he actually gets split off, you're not too worried with the huge range in the horse.
I mean, Legolas on horse against any big hero if you're lucky with the charge. Orcrist if it's an Orokai.
And he's not got Orcrist.
No,
He's
that's
still
right,
got
yeah.
high fight, 3
Yeah.
attacks on the charge with knockdown. Like
It'll kill most things that are shy of what? A 3 stat across the line kind of hero.
You're not too
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah. We'll go through the next list anyway, shall we? Or shall we wait for Jan?
That's all right.
Yeah, okay. No, I'll cut this actual bit out. Or not.
Sorry about
Don't be sorry. It's pretty much in the spirit of how serious we're taking this.
Do you want to say anything else about Hayden and Steve?
that. Fuck you.
Next!
No, I'm kidding. Do we talk about Legolas and horse?
Yeah. Sorry, no, you don't get it.
No, someone talked about it? Yeah.
Anyone who answers the phone like that, just they don't get anything else to say.
Oh, that's fair. Fuck you, I have a job. I have a job unlike some people here.
Thank you. We're not talking about that on stream. Later. Alright.
You see, we've got another Moria list.
Yeah?
Durbos is a far more standard leader.
What an average way of describing
Well, no, because it's excuse me, it's Durbers the
Goblin
Goblin of Moria.
Yeah, he is truly one of the goblins of all time.
I loved it. I cracked up seeing this list just because of the Durbers the Goblin of Moria. It left me in tears.
He truly is a goblin.
With Durbos, you've got Drizag, a regular captain, and somebody else bringing the Cave Drake. Cave Drake's coming back.
Mate.
Game Break's coming back. I said it
2
last
bat
week.
swarms? Don't often see 2. You see 1 often enough.
Now, you'll notice, though, there are 0 Marauders. There are more Prowlers than I would run. I think that the 1 Bat Swarm would probably have been enough there. I don't know that 2 will get enough done, but there's a lot of potential with the Giant Spiders and Wild Wogs for just enrage. Obviously, Hugh's not an idiot because I don't see any Black Shield goblins in there.
But there is one problem with this list.
Go for it.
There's no Marauders.
Glad someone was listening to me.
Well, we're a good team. Yeah, this works. I mean, personally, on a more serious note, thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
That was a serious note. Marauders are great.
He literally just...
Yeah, I know.
It's fine.
I have to double down.
I would have dropped 1 spider and a wag, and if there was left over 2 points, whatever, or drop another goblin, and put at least 1 marauder in there. At least. I would ideally want 2. Liam would tell you you'd want 3 or 4.
4.
4.
You already said Marauders. What are you doing? Next list.
Good job, Hugh. We'll looking forward to see what this does. Hopefully the normal wags work out for you.
I like this list. I do like this list.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's fun.
I do respect.
We respect anyone that takes more out. Alright. Hugh P.
UP.
What have we got here? We've got
This is interesting. It's the Witch King. He's on Felby's this time. You know, we've seen quite a few horses with the ring race so far in these lists.
Yep.
We've seen Gorbag before, and we've seen Karj before. Goretz is very interesting. Goretz I really like as a model. Obviously, he's getting that plus minus to those reinforcement rolls, and he looks really cool with the skull on his head.
Yes,
He's the best looking Ranin
He's
model.
really cool.
Yeah.
And again, the Witch King 3, 15-3 is a heavily stacked Witch King. That's a lot of resources to play with, especially on a fell beast. He's going to cause some serious problems there, Crown of Bottle as well. So yeah, interesting to see. We've kind of got that split where we've got 2 casters and 2 sort of fighting guys. Gurtz isn't amazing in a fight, but he is still pretty good. And of course, Gorbag is pretty sweet there. We've got a bit of a mix on the warriors there. A lot of riders going on, which is nice. We've got...
You got all 4 in the Witch King's Warband.
Yeah.
Which obviously would be a nasty one to come on to like a Maelstrom with. But there's a lot of Morannons.
Yes.
Except there's 5 trackers with Kardush.
Which is interesting. And so I think a big proponent of this will be placement. Managing who's where and what they're doing. This is the same for any other list that has 3 or 4 heroes, but this one in particular, especially with the split of the casters and the fighting capability of Gorbag and Gurtz as well. I'm interested to see how they manage their placement on the field and how they sort of manage those flanks and those main front lines.
I haven't seen a speaking of Witch King lists, I haven't seen any 20 War Witch King lists for a while.
No.
Yeah, people have really decided that, especially with the Crown of
Morgul,
that 20 wheel just isn't really being used efficiently across the game. And so, dropping those wheel points to gain something else seems to be the better use. I'll note that the banners with Gorbag's warband, which obviously will give it a little bit more protection through there. And again, as Jack mentioned, taking Gurtz for that consistency is a strong pick.
it's just a nicely rounded.
That wheel there is 25 points as a banner.
Yeah.
That's what that worth is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 25 points is 5 points for the Witch King.
I would happily always give up the 5 will.
Yeah, exactly. Would you prefer the will or would you prefer the banner? And I think the answer is the banner 90% of the time.
You don't need to be casting spells every turn when you've got arguably 4 consistent heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And love the caster as well. But
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Brilliant.
Good stuff for you.
Yeah. Jack R. Lothlorien and Horse Friends. Yeah, okay. I'll take this one, I guess. So I got Kelborn. I'm assuming he's the leader. It doesn't have to be, but I'm assuming he's the leader. You've got Kelborn with all the toys, because why wouldn't you take him? And he's got a good assortment of Galadriel warriors, court guard, some wood elves with spears, and bows, which is a nice mix and adds some shielding into the list. And then you got a Galadriel captain with the elf bow, no horse, interestingly enough. But also a good mix of warriors, court guard, and then more wood elves with wood elf spears and bows. And then allied in quite, with only just a few models, you've got Elmar with armoured horse and shield, and 1 outrider, and then Elwyn with horse and shield, which is, I mean, that could potentially lead to some interesting things, which the last part obviously answers why the Galadriel captain doesn't need the horse necessarily.
Yeah, it's interesting here. I am curious with the interaction of it. So we've talked about it before with the interaction with Emma and Eowyn. It might be easy to manipulate their relationship.
Try and throw in Eowyn so she dies, so you get a bit of a raging one going on.
And you get an idea of where Emma's going to go after that, and then suddenly all you have to do is Celeborn and Galadriel. But there are a lot of models in there. There's a lot of guards with the Galadriel court. They get that whole shielding thing with their spears. So
The only worry I have about this list is I think it will rely on Eomer getting his points worth. And on an average day, he's going to do pretty well. But if he comes against something that he just bounces off, this list will struggle.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Talk about Smag now, or when it comes to you?
Let's talk about Smag now.
Okay, Smag. That's me. I am taking the Desolator of the North. Smag is 700 points. There's a reason that the tournament... Anyway, no, let's not go to it. Cool. Smaug is a very interesting model. I was testing the numbers, a few months ago, and trying to understand how he would interact with the different scenarios against the different consistent lists at the time that were meta, and he's very strong.
Yes, Smaug is one of those things where I think the design of the Watcher in the Water being tweaked slightly so that it's at full stats, you have full stats. Once you start to drop off wounds, you lose attacks and all that kind of stuff. I think that's makes that model far more reasonable because it's a lot of investment to do those wounds. Smaug has no mitigating factor.
He is just as strong at 20 wounds as he is at 1 wound. It's It's crazy. You know, like, you have to chunk through 19 wounds, even to get down to 1 wound left, and he's still just as powerful as he was at 20.
Yes, he does have missing scale, which can cause some problems with shooting. But when I play against Jack a lot, and so when he put up the fact that he was going to play Smaug, my immediate thought was, well, how do the lists that I run, my Bannerman list and obviously some warrior lists, how do they run against Smaug? And the answer was quite poorly. And not that I would ever take an army just to counter a specific army in a tournament. But I thought, what exactly would I bring? And your tools are surprisingly limited.
It's interesting. Smaug has a certain aura about him. There's a need for an answer to him. There's a need to respond to his, he's 8 fight, he's got 9 strength and 9 defense.
He's got a special barge.
He does. He's got a special barge. The biggest thing is the breathe fire. He's got a breathe fire. It's for an extra 6 inches beyond just the normal dragon's breathe fire, so it's 18 inches. It's counted as a bow. If you take damage and don't fade it, you will die, and it is a 2-inch bubble. That is pretty huge. The other side of the coin is that he's a quite large base. He might have some problems in terms of maneuvering and managing where he sits, especially in terms of charging and engaging with those larger horde-based armies. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of these cases are going to be, I have a lot of models, I'm going to charge the Smaug. Okay.
Can't be trapped.
Smaug can't be trapped. He can't be flooded with models. He's defense 9. People are going to struggle unless they have a direct answer to this, and a lot of the lists we've seen so far don't have an answer.
Even strength 4 is wounding 6s by 4s. It's crazy.
Yeah, he is very strong. He's worth 700 points. He's max points already on the straight away. He has magic. He has breathe fire. He has fly. He's got a lot of maneuverability. He's got a lot more control than people might think as a single model. He can breathe fire and cast in the same turn as well. So,
look, Andreas, is something that you'd like to add to the?
I mean, you guys obviously been practicing, particularly Jack with Smaug, a fair bit. I can obviously say that we've had some practice games all together. Smaug looks like one model. Yes, big model, 700 points. There aren't a lot of things Smaug doesn't have an answer for.
There are a number of scenarios that are less favourable to Smaug.
Which is why Masters is great for Smaug.
Masters is veto.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised to see a Smaug finish at least top 5, if not higher.
There are at least 5 of them. Mine will look the coolest. But, it's nothing against Mike, it's just a thing for Andreas.
Look, the only thing I'm really disappointed about is that you guys haven't said the catchphrase yet.
Smaug on base?
Smaug on base!
Smaug on base, indeed.
So,
Smaug on base, will it be?
No. Smaug off base.
Smaug off base. New mean? Smaug off base.
Smaug is excited.
I feel like Smaug magnetized to base doesn't have the same ring.
No.
I think one thing to counter as well is there's a few interesting interactions. One of them is Assault on Lothlorien.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping that breathe fire to 12 inches is really fascinating, while also adding the +1. There's no fly, unfortunately, so they can't turn on fly, but I won't take ages, but there are a number of different interesting interactions with Smaug that I'm really excited to play against, and I'm really excited to see being played myself. So,
I think
good job, Jack. Fantastic list. Excited to see it played.
How many beers today, Jeff?
Oh, I'm like
0. They're ciders.
They're all ciders. Don't worry, guys.
I had no beer today.
Yeah, no.
Also, this isn't me drunk. This is me normal.
Look, I think it's no secret. One way to win against Smaug, just kill Smaug. That's it.
That is correct.
There's no problem. Easy. GG, no problem. Bad list, Jack.
Yeah.
Not looking forward to seeing it.
What a shit person.
Wow.
Anyway, next up.
You have Jack to thank for the points and masters. You're welcome. Alright. Jacob L. Lucas.
A little late saying this, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Fellowship of Ministerial. So I Jacob's really gone heavy on the theme here.
There's a name for this list.
It's the departure of
the Farewell of Boromir.
The Farewell of Boromir.
I think so.
So you can see it's the Fellowship version of Boromir. So full 6 might, no fate. Being escorted out by Faramir, Syrian, A Knight of the White Tower is a bold choice, and Damrod. So there's a lot of Osgiliath vets across the force, which is really cool. I have seen very few Osgiliath vets across
Most
tournaments.
lists, yeah.
There's a lot of Citadel Guard. I think the only Minas Tirith warrior is the one with the banner, probably because they didn't want the Fountain Court Guard with the banner, just because they might not have converted it up. But it's all elite troops. You're looking at Fight 4 across the board for the most part, and it's going to be really interesting what Jacob does with it. I think it's definitely more themey than it is power game, and I respect that flavour.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Whenever you see Faramir fully armoured with no lance, you know there's a story happening, and it's not just about beating things up. I think, honestly, the oddest thing here for me was the Syrian edition. I think that was just a nice little touch, something that's different that you don't normally see in an Osgiliath style list, which it feels more or less like an Osgiliath style list.
I think the Knight with the White Tower could have been maybe used elsewhere.
I've heard the Knight talked up a lot, particularly in Victoria.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Knight actually get its points worth across any game.
I think it's inconsistent just by its nature with the two-handed.
When it does work, it'll work really
You're all
well.
at 6.
Well, yeah, when you roll 6s, it goes fine.
Yeah,
But
when it doesn't work,
I would what would be? I'm curious. Like, what would you replace the Knight with?
Madril.
Well, yes, I love Madril. So
Give
much.
Boromir his banner and then Madril. Okay.
No, but if you're playing this list, I think you got to respect the theme.
Yeah.
You're certainly not going for a king. You're
No.
not going for Denethor. You're not going to put in Huron to stick with the theme. So I think of the choices available, you have to go with the Knight because Jacob has restricted the flavour here.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Teacher of Boromir potentially. You know, I think it says somewhere in the profile that even Boromir copped a slap from a Knight of the White Tower every now and then when he was learning.
Fantastic.
My personal opinion,
Yep.
would have loved to have seen Damrod swapped out for one of the new Ranger heroes. Maybe the one that gets free might every shoot,
Yeah.
or the one that I think gets rid of Stalk Unseen or something
Yes.
similar.
Yes, that was
That being said, you have to buy both together. It might be a thing of I don't want to spend all that money just to have one 25 or 30 point hero.
35.
Fair enough.
That's what I was alluding to.
Yeah.
Damrod is arguably cooler because he has nothing special about him. So it's just the rule of just cool. I hit you, you die.
He is in fact a ranger of Ithilien.
He's indeed a ranger.
Goblin of Moria. Anyway,
And this is a Knight of the White Tower, and he's got no horse.
Can't go with
We'll move on.
they can't kill a Taurus yet.
Looking forward to seeing this. I think it'll look pretty. Yeah. Alright, another Jacob. Jacob 8. Arnor and Misty Mountains.
Please stop spelling Gwahir incorrectly. It does my head in.
It could
Firstly,
be
it wasn't me.
It could be Adam's fault, but I'm going to blame the submitters.
But
Can I please?
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, absolutely.
Arbadui, last king of Arnor.
He said that playing for days.
I've been waiting to say that desperately. So everyone knows, even if you don't know me personally, you know just from the memes itself, I fully respect a list that just chucks a Gwahir in there. There's nothing more, I guess, class, echelon, higher up.
Class is a word.
Yeah, class is a word for sure. Look, it's Arnor. As Arnor as it gets. You got Avadui, you got a captain, you got Malbeth, pretty much what you want from Arnor. You've got some hobbits, you've got a nice mix of rangers and warriors, good shield wall happening. Has 2 banners, always wanted 2 banners.
2 banners is interesting.
2 banners is always... It's one of those things that's just like, do you really need it? In most cases, no.
It's not valuable till it is.
Yeah. And that's it is, one of them gets knocked out by a ballista, or gets compelled away, or...
If you're playing 2 to death and you take out banner for banner, oftentimes having 2 means you're still 1 up, which means you're getting more points. What's
I
that?
said that is how math works.
That's, yeah.
But it comes down to the number of warriors, right? Like, are you comfortable that you can keep all those warriors alive? Are you comfortable that you can cover all those warriors with 1 banner?
Well, you do have Malbeth, so you are more likely to keep those warriors alive. So having the extra banners there.
Yeah, it might be easier to split the force. Malbeth's still going to cover those guys if he's sitting in the middle. So yeah, I think this is a rare case where a double banner might actually work really well with a larger force.
The other thing that comes to my mind, obviously, you're losing your army bonus with no +1 courage.
No, so it's
It's
not +1 courage. It's if Avadu is around, auto pass for 6 inches.
Right.
Which is an amazing arming bonus given Arnor has relatively low courage. My issue is if you're taking 2 banners, but you're losing the arming bonus, why not take the horn?
Yeah.
Potentially. Look, hands down, Jacob. Like taking 2 banners.
Yep.
I always thumbs up for people who are willing to take 2 banners that isn't a King's Champion.
My thoughts on the list though is like, so this list was run in a very similar manner last Masters by Dan May.
Yes.
And was doing quite well till he went and, ruined everything by going to watch Parramatta play in the final.
Oh.
Ruined his chances at Masters and clearly ruined Parramatta for everybody else. But with that said, I wonder whether Guahi would have benefited from that second eagle.
Guahi's... Sorry, go ahead.
Would he benefit from the army bonus?
No, it's only Arnor...
No, I
No,
mean,
but
I mean
Guahi's
the Mystic Atoms.
Oh.
Guahi's
The extra strength.
Look, I will say it is always nice to ally in something different to Arnor, even if I'm not overly fond of the bird bath kind of drop in a list. Simply because Arnor can be very linear, and it works well, how it works when it's linear. I will say a Warhorn would have been lovely for Guahia for auto pass courage in most instances. But look, at the end of the day, you still get most of what Arnor offers, and then you get something that moves really fast and can do things that the rest of
it's
us
always
can't.
nice to have a monster.
Yeah,
It is.
plenty of range, couple of hobbits sprinkled in for flavour. I always like seeing hobbits in any list, really. So, yeah. Malva will still get, with this number of models, still get enough
good
from
value.
the 5 plus.
At the end of the day, I think banners are interesting. It's cool to take 2. You're going to lock down some of those, side objectives and some of those objectives. But I'm just like, did you ban a banner?
Well, all consistent lists bring banners.
That's correct. Yeah, I didn't bring a banner. Nothing. Did Andreas bring a banner?
I can't bring it. And none of us.
We'll find out.
We haven't gotten to certain lists yet,
That
but
comes right up soon.
That
yeah.
is in fact the joke. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, good on you, Jacob. Hope the 2 banners work out. Another Jacob.
Oh boy.
What a list!
What a list indeed.
Yes.
Aragorn Strider with free and drill. Free and Elven
I
Cloak.
think we know it's free, right?
I mean, I respect that he's mentioned it.
I quite enjoy it. I like mentioning that it's free. When it's spelled right would be helpful, but that could in fact be Adam. Who knows? But I think the most important part there is the Elven Cloak. We've seen one before, and I've seen people take this list without the Elven Cloak. It's a poor idea. Aragorn is the main linchpin of this list. He's defense 5. He's very squishy, even surrounded by the dead. 1 or 2 good shots get in there, past the dead, and pass their in the ways.
Good heroic accuracy.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. It's going to mince him.
One thing.
Interesting decision
Yeah.
to take the King of the Dead with Aragorn and not Legolas.
This is the first time I've ever seen this list without Legolas.
Yes, Legolas ideally in this list is taken to counteract the lack of shooting. Obviously Legolas is a great shooter. Hashtag Legolas on horse. But it's I can see the thinking behind dropping him to get more warriors.
There's so many warriors in that list.
There's a lot of dudes here.
Does Strider Aragorn have March?
Yes, he does.
Good. Because I don't see any Riders of the Dead here.
There are some warriors of the dead without shield, which I hadn't noticed earlier.
Oh.
Yes.
So there are
5 of them.
8 of them.
Yes. 8 of them.
Yeah, 3 of them have the warband. There are 8 of them that don't have the shield, so
Right.
they're only defense 7. I would have preferred to see everybody at defense 8. But also, I wouldn't have gone the horde list. I think that's basically 30 warriors of the dead. That's huge numbers.
And the problem is the resources. Like a lot of warriors is fantastic. It's great. The problem is the King of the Dead has 1 might, and Aragorn is super squishy. That's the main problem with the linchpins in this list. Is that Aragorn is very easy to kill. Like it's great that all the warriors have defense. They should have defense if they have the shield. Not having the shield is an interesting decision. Maybe it's to squeeze more dudes in. I'm not sure. But yeah, if Aragorn gets killed by shooting, or if he gets killed by a weird hurl, or he gets picked off by a monster, you lose.
Granted, it is harder to pin Aragorn down with any magic because of the cloak. It is nicer.
That's what I'm saying. The cloak was the correct decision. The cloak was always the correct decision. It's a fantastic choice. With this, dropping Legolas, I would hope to see maybe a Herald instead to keep the might going with the King, to help you split this list. But currently this list is very much going to fall into a single pitch battle.
I tell you what, one thing in its favour, if you do have just like this avenue where it's battle line against battle line, I think this will win 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, it's a very solid
For sheer value of terror and like survivability.
Win on courage.
Yeah, win on courage, survivability. This dishes out the most firepower in terms of straight up like dice rolling.
It does. I think this is going to come down to the scenario. It's going to come down to the matchup as well. We talked about the placement of some of those weirder lists early on with the mix of magic. This is where those weird positionings are going to come into play. This is where those flanking maneuvers are going to come into play. Because it's great that this wins a line by line fight, but you're not going to be facing line by line fights every round.
Yeah. Positioning for this list is everything.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, Jacob. I definitely wouldn't have the balls to do that.
Yes.
Alright, James, another host of the Dragon Emperor, and we've got similar to what we saw previously. I can take this one on. We've got the Dragon Emperor Rune, of course, you have to have him. He's got a nice full warband of just warriors this time, all with their freebie Black Dragon upgrades. We have, interestingly, Rutabi without anything, and I think that's potentially because she doesn't get the free Black Dragon upgrades to the warriors. Yeah, that's fair enough. We've got Brorgir the Conjurer with 3 normal Eastlings with bows, and then the Dragon Knight on Armoured Horse. And I think that's where the rest of couple of Cataphracts for the speed, and the drum once again, good choice, and a couple more warriors with the Black Dragon upgrade for free. So, I mean, I'd ask Jack's thoughts, but
it's a little small on numbers for my liking. I think I would have preferred to have seen the drop the Dragon Knight. Feel that the other warbands a little. I wonder if James has gone the Rutabi alone route, because you drop Rutabi and then say, cool, go and get it. Because if you need to call something, like you have to call to get into me, you've got to call to strike, you've got to call the road combat, I'll go for free. I'll try.
And honestly, Rutabi by herself could probably survive in most drop situations outside of a really bad Maelstrom scenario.
She's no slouch.
No.
So
I think a little bit of additional versatility versus maybe the list we saw previously that was similar, because you've got that Dragon Knight to kind of just sustain yourself through and gain back might with the Blood and Glory, which is really important. But like the good thing is that every one of these lists we've seen so far, the drum's always there, I think. Yeah, that's important. I don't think there's much else we have to say. It's actually... Oh no, you got the banner, the Dragon Emperor.
yes.
But, yeah, nice and rounded. Maybe low on the numbers, but other than that, it's...
Someone disagreed with me on Facebook.
Someone disagree with you on Facebook?
Hey, let's keep going.
No, that's important. We got to stop.
Well,
Do you have any... we ranted on a little bit about the numbers and whatnot.
This is similar to the old one. The one we saw previously. Rutabi and Brogir, they're amazing models. They're really good with this, especially in the Legion. The big fit there is they're both on foot.
Yep.
And with the Dragon Emperor, it is technically mounted. So it'll be interesting to see how James manages that large block of warriors across the different warbands, and really utilises those Palanquin bonuses. I think that'll be the linchpin of this particular list.
Sweet. Good luck, James. Another James, and this time...
Now,
you can have this one, Liam.
so this one is Misty Mountains and Shire. Given the order, I'm assuming Gua here.
And Wanderers. Let's not forget Wanderers.
Well, that's not what's written, but you're right, because accompanying Gua here is Tom Bombadil. You've got Mary with basically a full warband, militia, archers, and just the one battling Brandy Buck.
Just in case you need to offset the wind chart. And
Lobelia's there, you got Buldo, Wholefoot, and Will Whitfoot.
This is a really interesting choice.
Yeah, a mix of sheriffs, archers, and militia. Look, I can see what James has gone for. There's the sheer numbers from your Hobbits section. You've got the stop what you're doing from Tom, possibly the regaining of stats on your Gua here. But
I think what this comes down to is the usage of Tom. There's a lot of models, but you're copying a very large amount of models to take Tom. Guahir's great, fantastic. He's going to have to be a leader. I think the main component of this list is how you use Tom. There's 120 points there. There's a lot of points going into him. Can he pull out the usefulness and the resources needed to keep this list going? I don't know.
It's 58 models.
It is. It's a lot.
It's huge.
Even with two big point drop allies.
I just wonder, because Squire here, like to me, and I'm not someone who's played a lot of flanking flyers as part of a secondary force, like if you're committing Guai here forward, Tom's got to walk there. And if you're holding Guai here back, are you really getting the full value for him?
My concern is that Guai is the biggest hitter in the list, but he's also the leader, and nothing else can compensate quite as much for that. Yeah, Tom can refresh wounds, is that right?
He can do Refreshing Song, which refreshes Might, Will, Fate, and a wound.
Okay. And does one of each, or is it you choose?
One of each with the cast. Assuming he passes the cast.
Yeah. Which,
3+?
It's 3+.
Yeah, 3+, which, most times you tend to. Will it offset if something happens to Guahia? I believe if you regain wounds on a leader, they still count.
It still counts as VP,
cool.
That's correct.
I think
it's you still wound Guai here.
Look at Guai here.
Choosing his engagement.
It's just, I think it's using Tom, I think he's going to suffer if he has to keep refreshing the hobbits, depending on which hobbit it's being used on, and can Guai here pull his weight in this list? I don't know. It's going to take some real...
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to take some real placements with James, and I'm curious to see how he does it.
Cool. Good luck, James. I hope that combination works. I mean, if I'm playing you, I hope it doesn't. I don't care. but I hope it works in your other games. Woo!
What a list. What a list. This is...
I love me a single drop Suladan.
Oh, I love
It's got a lot of aspects where you're like, I really like that choice. So... for those of you listening who can't see the list that people are quite excited about, it's Suladan on Armoured Horse. You've got a Mahood King with War Camel, Shield, and War Spear. There's actually a second one of those, and each one of them is leading 2 Mahood Raiders with Blowpipe and Spear, as well as 4 Half Trolls.
8 all up.
8 all up. And your final warband is Raza with 10 Haradrim Warriors with Spear.
I'll tell you what, this is probably... I'm going to argue this is probably the hardest hitting list across the board I've seen so far.
It's pretty heavy. Yeah. This is going to do a lot of damage to anything it hits. Suladan's great, but having those 2 Mahood Kings on the side, they're going to cause havoc wherever they are. The strength 5 with that War Spear and the Camel is nutty as hell. The Shield gives them defense 6, and they have 3 might each. They're really, really strong models, especially being supported by 2 Mahood Raiders each. You're going to have some really scary 3-stack models there running around. The Half Trolls is interesting. Half Trolls are pretty nutty. They're 5/5, they get 2 attacks, they've got Burly, but they are they do cost terror, but they're only 6-inch move.
There is no courage benefit here for the Half Trolls. If they do run into anything that causes terror, that could be a little bit of a concern. My question is, are Half Trolls 25 mil base? Yes. I think they are.
They are, yes.
So they can spear support and get the 3D?
That's correct. So that's why Raza's Warband has entirely spears. I think
very nice.
Having the 10 spears to back up 8 things is bold, but also each of those 8 things has 2 wounds, so you are slightly more likely to lose a spear.
That is right.
There is not you've only really got the blowpipes there for range support,
but
a blowpipe does a surprising amount of damage. With the poison.
Blowpipes, can I tell you that they are the sneaky ones? They're very easy. They're basically mini ribbon allies. They can sit there next, 12 inches away from your force and just keep shooting until the rest of the force catches up. They're poisoned, so it doesn't sound like much, but they hit on 3s. It is still strength 2, and they are poisoned. They really hit in there quite painfully if you aren't ready for them. And of course, Suladan with the 6-inch banner there as well. Is pretty nice.
So effectively, you can have the Half Trolls with 2 dice, backed up by a Warrior with a Spear, and a banner giving you 3 dice for the reroll in a combat, which then has quite a big amount of strength.
Exactly right. And Raza going in there and hitting a hero and jumping up to fight 6 as well.
This will hit like a truck, but I will see how we go in terms of return fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Jason, Mr. Jason Daly, Fiefdoms, something he's definitely run more than a few times, and it's a gorgeous army. Anyone who hasn't seen it, Fiefdoms with Gondor, sorry, yes, and the right allied choice of Gondor. I will say, for anyone who hasn't seen Jason's Fiefdoms and Gondor, they are gorgeous, absolutely stunning. So Jason is running obviously Prince Imrahil, Angbor, and Forlong, the trio. Getting all the nice little aura bonuses there across the whole army. There's a mixture of a couple of knights on armoured horses, a lot of men at arms on foot, 12, which is, I would argue, that's a reasonably large number given most fiefdom forces. Fair few clansmen, natural 6 big hitters, and then a good mix of archers, both with spear and without. And that's interesting, given how many of those Black Rebel archers there are without the Dune here, I think. I mean, Madril's a great choice for reinforcements and making sure in those Maelstrom scenarios, you get on.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about, this with every other list as well that has a similar circumstance, but having him on his own could be problematic.
He would, like, the biggest point about having him on his own is obviously you worry about reinforcements where he's got the bonus, so
correct.
It shouldn't matter as much. For better or worse, I actually don't rate clansmen. I think they're squishy, and I never seem to roll 6 with them when I play them in scenarios.
They look so cool.
They look gorgeous, but I wonder whether they would have been better served with something else in that list.
I will say there are enough men at arms that you can counteract that negative modifier if you don't roll the 6.
That is true. I think flavour-wise, even though I think Mantle is the correct pick, I probably still would have gone for Dunhere. But what do I know?
Madril doing here. I mean,
I do.
at the end of the day, they do different things, but I think they're quite interchangeable. That they both give the A list.
I think Madril has the better buff, but
globally,
for consistency.
Yeah.
But
I think at the end of the day,
unless Madril's been painted to look like your fiefdoms, in which case I'm full for it.
Absolutely right. I think at the end of the day, fiefdoms is all about utilising that global sort of rule, the little asterisks.
Hello.
Yeah, it's all about interacting between these different, all the different models. I think this is the strength of the fiefdoms, and they're super cool to see. I'm really excited to see this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Anything that comes from Jason is always fluffy. It's always themey. It's always gorgeous. Please come in.
Don't you? We're not recording or anything.
No. Actually, come in. No, we are. But we want you in. Come in.
Quick,
or not.
Chris,
you don't have to.
Live on camera. That was a shit high five. Anyway, Jason,
it takes two to high five.
It does. Yeah. Jason, moving on next up.
So, I'll let you guys take this one for a sec, and I'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, cool.
So,
Jeremy with Mordor and Serpent Horde here,
yeah.
And this is the second combination we've had with Suleiman and the Witch King.
Yeah, we're seeing quite the bromance going on.
Absolutely right, and I fully support it, and I will be writing my own fan fiction on the side.
The Black Numenorians are getting outrun.
They are. I was talking about this a few weeks ago, and they're really good. Terror, strength 4, defense 6. They're very scary. They look really good on the board.
I think the numbers might be a little bit of a factor for me. I'm just having a quick look.
I think there's too many.
The size, as in the number of Black Numenorians is too high.
I think so.
I think because you've got so many Black Numenorians, you start to limit how much Will Kardush can get back, especially because the Suladan warband has no orcs. So you've really only got, 15-ish orcs that you're starting to sacrifice. If you're sacrificing them, who's backing up your Numenorians?
Exactly right. And also I think it comes down to what are you willing to split the army into? Because obviously you've got Suladan on his own, not on his own rather in this list, but he's got a bit of backup, but then that backup takes away from the orcs that Kardush can take, and then who's defending Kardush? Is it always the Black Numenorians? Are they guarding the Witch King? Are they guarding Gorbag? What is the placement for this list? I think the war bandits themselves are interesting, but I don't think it'll be the final breakout. I think it will change depending on deployment, and I think things will switch around. I think Jeremy is going to have an interesting time managing what goes where.
Yeah. You'll notice that Jeremy also has gone for the Witch King, not with full stats. It's 3, 13, and 2. Would you rate the 13 and 2 over a 12 and 3?
100%.
Yep.
I think so. It's interesting. No, I don't. I think 3 is better.
Well, of course 3 is better than 2.
No one cares what you think.
But
so I think it depends on the use case. In this particular use case, you've got another caster, and the Witch King is your leader. Having that extra fate is going to be critical.
I think, given the Witch King is leader, I probably would have leaned towards the 3 Fate, especially because you can refresh some of that will by killing Cardwish if you need it.
Exactly right. The Witch King is a ring wraith. You can in fact kill Cardwish when needed. You can really burn that will down early on, and then refresh it as needed.
Now,
having 3 Fate is going to hurt, especially with shooting.
As I say, don't get me wrong, we're obviously nitpicking here because we've seen some lists that have similar compositions, so it's not specifically a take on Jeremy, but I think given the Cardwish reinforcement, probably would have gone the 3-12-3.
I think so, and I think that the 3-12-3 is going to be ideal if you're ever going to take him as your leader. As Coleman has showcased earlier on, having that 3 Fate on the leader himself, especially because he's only got 1 wound, it's just it's massive.
Yeah, thanks.
Perfect.
Yeah. Holy shit, I love Jono.
Wait. Were we gonna say it?
Smack my base.
So, mate.
No, it's holy shit, I love Jono. If you play Jono on the weekend, I dare you to try and lose.
I dare you to try and not be like, he does deserve best sports.
Jono is a good friend of ours from a very long time. He took Smag at us, pressuring him to. I feel nothing about it.
Because, Jack's obviously, playing Smaug as a power gamer. Jono has to be there to be like, yeah, sure.
I'll play Smaug because it's 700 points only.
Yeah, exactly 700 points.
Yeah,
Jono's taking Smag because I thought it was funny, and I think Jono is arguably one of the best sports players in the game.
Jono taking Smaug because people pressured him into taking Smaug is probably the most Jono thing.
That's exactly right, yeah. And Jono is also going to come last with Smaug, and I really am excited to see how he does it, because oh boy, what a moment.
Jack's hoping that Smaug bookends the tournament.
I am. I'm hoping that Smaug comes first and Smaug comes last, because that would make me complete. I love Jono. Hashtag love Jono. Moving on.
Jonathan Burns.
Oh.
He loves his Halls of Thranduil. Definitely. I'll go. I mean, look, I'll take it this one.
Yeah.
You've got Thranduil with pretty well every toy under the sun. Yep, you got the circle, you got the heavy arm, you got the blade, you got the elk. There it is. Yep. I'm a stickler for commas. Sometimes it just gets to me. Then you've got a bunch of Palace Guards. In fact, I think those. Yeah, they're all Palace Guards there, and a couple of Mirkwood Cav to add to the fast mix. And you got Tara with elf bow, because why wouldn't you take with a bow? Lots of rangers and a sentinel, and then a Palace Guard captain with shield, because that is the best kind of guard captain beat stick you can get, really, with the +1 to win from Thranduil, and the bodyguard. With another sentinel.
I'm going to ask you guys, I'm curious, how many rangers / palace guards are worth a sentinel? And how many should deserve to be in the list?
I'm going to say Jono's picked a pretty sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
He could have done with 1 more sentinel.
I wouldn't go above 3 sentinels in a list like this. I think it's interesting. Some people like to play almost like a 1 sentinel to your killing heroes to be like, come here or go away to threats to make sure that your heroes are doing what they need to do.
Yep.
I think Thranduil is like a hero and a half when he's on that elk. It's a very, especially when he's fully kitted with the circle and all that. So you probably can get away with just the 2 to help beef up those numbers. Especially with those Mirkwood Rangers just being able to hide with the free cloaks. I'm always fond of I say vanilla, just a pure Halls of Thranduil list, simply because the Rangers can often just act as their own separate little force. They've got the cloaks, they can hide from things, they can pepper things, they can move through all kinds of terrain more or less. And Tariel with them, like, if something big comes along, she tends to be able to deal with it.
I think that's what they're going for here as well. Yeah. Jonathan's obviously played this pretty well in terms of the warbands.
Yeah.
Tariel can sit with the Rangers in the forests, start shooting away, and then there's a Wood Elf Sentinel for both Thranduil and for the Palace Guard Captain. There's a lot of cavalry going in there, a lot of Palace Guards as well supporting that. I think it's going to be pretty interesting how he utilises those Rangers to negate threats. And then how the rest of his army works with those Sentinels as well.
It's nicely rounded. I would say try and get a banner, even though the Cav get a banner from Thranduil. I would say add in something in.
A little bit of VP security.
Just, that. That being said,
it's pretty good.
It's not a super high model army, so I get why you wouldn't want to sacrifice a Sentinel's worth.
Yeah, but also is a Sentinel's worth to help make sure that your guys are winning fights.
Yeah.
Worth it?
Yeah, I think it depends what you're doing. Honestly, I think for a lower model count list like this, the Sentinel's probably better value.
Yeah.
Being able to control the fights, being able to have 2 backup Sentinels to manage what Thranduil and the Palace Guard Captain are fighting. Yeah. It's good.
See how it goes? Alright, Jordan K. Rohan, pure Rohan.
Yeah.
Fuck
Rohan. Hobbits, more!
But we haven't seen much Rohan recently. So this one's Théoden, on horse with heavy armor and shield.
Not the Legion, even though it's
Not
got.
the Legion.
Actually, no, Erwin's not in the Legion.
that's
So.
So he's leading 12 riders of Rohan with throwing spears. Aowen's on horse with shield, armor, and throwing spears, leading 2 riders with throwing spears. Aowen's with horse, shield, and throwing spear, leading 12 with throwing spear. So it's throwing spear spam.
Yeah.
It's classic Rohan. There's lots
Keeping
of
it in the
modes.
family.
Yeah, keeping it in the family.
Yeah.
Look, I think people are often sick of seeing Rohan, but this is actually more of a unique list in this this current meta. So
This is the.
I'm surprisingly pro Rohan at the moment. So
Yeah, I don't hate this. This is fun. You know, a lot of riders are Rohan. They're fantastic models on their own, coming in with the bows and the throwing spears, getting in there and hitting everything they charge, especially with the armor bonus. Interesting to see Aowen and Theoden against Aemir. Obviously, if one of them dies, Aemir will go skits and start trying to charge things.
I think it's not trying to hide that fact. Though.
No, not at all.
I
I
mean,
think that's interesting.
I think that's why Aowen
There's-
is minimized.
yeah,
Correct, and I think that if Aowen can pull her weight and do enough damage before she dies, and then getting Aemir that +1 strength bonus, and the charge obviously, that the constant charge anything required, but no, I think it is calculated in the ability to...
There's a couple of things going on here though. Like you've got Eowyn for her points value almost always gets that value back if she can get stuck into warriors that are level 5, which is great. Elmer obviously if he goes ballistic, he does more damage. He goes up strength
He gets +1 strength, yeah.
and -1 defense, doesn't he?
Correct. So
Yeah,
strength
so
5,
look,
defense 5.
Strength 6 it'll end up being on charge,
Correct.
Which
which
is nutty.
It's ridiculous.
at that point like
For a
it's
man,
crazy. 29 models.
Yeah.
A lot
And
of models.
and every single one of them except Theoden can play the skirmish game of just you move 6, I'm gonna stay at 8 and like pepper you with spears until it's the right time to go. This is great. So I think not much else to be said. It's just well rounded.
Yeah.
Nice little theme. It's the family, you know, and it's got enough cover. You're like, crap. If I saw this on the table, it would look like something from the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, coming from the east and then
Yeah. Sweet.
cool.
Good luck,
Fantastic.
Jordan.
Good job, Jordan. Yeah. Interesting.
Jose.
Now this is an interesting list. I don't know if I agree with it. I think
No one cares if you agree with it. Like,
Nobody's listening to a podcast for your opinion. Jack.
Yeah.
Andreas.
They're here just so you go through the list and reveal them.
Andreas, fuck you.
Okay, thank you.
Let's talk to the list. As
You
of
can
now-
take it since you.
No, fuck you. No. Hey, Emily, how you doing?
Oh, we're not editing anything. Like the alcohol's in the video.
I didn't agree to that. Anyway.
I did. Anyway, our sponsor is No.
Our sponsor is Cancer Council.
Beyond Blue. Please buy raffle tickets at the Masters event. It's a fantastic cause. You know, something close to my heart as well. You know, I think it's all proceeds to go into the charity. Please buy some raffle tickets. It's going to be a fun time, and I really appreciate everyone that buys those tickets.
That was such a turn. Like it was beautiful that like you
Fuck
said
you,
it.
Andreas. Anyway, Azog Legion. Azog and Bolg in the same list. This is interesting. It's all through Azog's Legion. So only Azog is going to get the army bonus.
That's all you need, really, though.
This is interesting as well, and I think the second thing I want to point out is that he is bringing the stone flail. So he's going to get that ability to do the flail hit, but he is going to go down to fight 6. He's got the white war, he's got the extra might, so he's got 6 might. I will promote that he does in fact have berserkers. Berserkers are fantastic. You know, 2 of them there with 2-handed picks, and then 3 with just the default kits. He's got 11 good about orc warriors there, 1 with a banner, and then Bolg on his fellow warg with 8 warriors, you know, 4 with shield and 4 with shield and spear. It's a pretty rounded list.
Yeah, look, I love Azog. Great choice. I don't like to take the stone flail. I can see why you would, because you think you're going to be outnumbered, so that makes sense. You very, very rarely see Azog with Bolg in the same list, because it's a really big point investment into 2 heroes.
Almost as big as Smaug, hey?
They're very big heroes, and they're going to do well. But I often find that they're stepping on each other's toes.
They are, and I think that's probably the main issue there is you really need to be able to utilize both those point costs. They're pretty heavy point costs. You know, Azog's pretty big, especially with the White Warg itself on its own as well. There is opportunities to utilize those, but with the lower amount of warriors, because of having both, there is an interesting logistical issue there where I just want to see you be able to utilize both Bolg and Azog in a full army list and be able to put them in the right places at the right times.
Look, I will say a couple of things. This list is about as fast as it needs to be in terms of speed. There's enough berserkers there, and both heroes on one wild quite survivable. That you
Call
can
the march,
call the march. Deceptively, it is a 3-hero list. So in scenarios where you need more heroes alive, it's nice to have there. I will say I would have preferred, instead of the flail, to have sneaky Chinese whispers messages being passed on. I would have preferred, instead of the flail, to have the orc bow on bulk, just because it's hilarious when Morgul Arrows does something.
True.
That being said, 26 models with both these heroes, that's still a decent number. That's solid.
I just feel like if you had gone without Bolg and taken 2 smaller heroes, you could still achieve the same number, if not more. I mean, I do hope that I'm proven wrong, but I would have concerns about running a list.
Especially with some more mounted heroes as well. Sorry, mounted units as well.
It's very brave. I hope Jose enjoys playing with both, because I feel like when both kick off the synergy together, if Bolg can tally up to be better than Azog's safe, I would argue. Like, in most cases, you got 3 might, so it's 9 plus might in the list. You know, so this will be interesting to see. It'll hit hard.
Absolutely right.
All right. Got Josh.
Good old Josh H.
I think Saladin's the most taken hero at this point. It's getting to that point.
Not yet.
I was going to say Mahud King.
that's
I think
true.
there might actually be more Mahud Kings than there are some Augs.
So this list is fascinating. So Suladan will have to be the leader because it's the highest heroic tier.
Yep.
So Suladan's got his horse and bow leading 18 Haradrim warriors, half with spear and bow. You've got a Haradrim king on horse and war spear, leading 4 warriors with spear and 5 watchers of Khan with blades. So we're seeing more watchers across the tournament.
You don't often see the Haradrim king.
Correct. But I'll tell you what also you don't often see, which is the Mahud king with war camel and war spear, leading 9 half trolls.
That is nutty as hell.
That is 4.5 trolls.
That is at least 4.5 trolls.
Shut up, Liam. Oh my god.
It's wild. I think the main issue coming from this is the movement. Obviously, we know we've got the Haradrim King, the Mahud King, and the Suladan on mount, and everything else is in fact on the ground, especially those half trolls. But I think that actually gives you an opportunity to sort of meld those lists together and meld those warbands together depending on the opponent. Obviously, I think it's going to be really, really strong. Mixing those Watchers of Karna with the double attacks, mixing those half trolls with some of those warriors with spear, and building out a pretty strong front line, and maybe even a pretty strong flanking force as well. Supported by the Haradrim King, supported by the Mahud King, as Suladan leads the charge. Obviously, that 6-inch banner as well is always nutty.
What I really like about this, I agree with everything you say, but what I really like about how it's broken up into the warbands is there's almost defined sort of roles. You've got Haradrim King as the kind of anti-terror, anti-magic warband, especially with the Watchers of Karna, because they benefit against the spirit keyword. And it's a nice little bonus you don't often see on the tabletop these days. Suladan's got that really cut and dry bowfire Babylon with spears, which is lovely. And then you've got the truck brick house, like absolute slaughterfest killing machine in that 9 half trolls. Sorry, or as Liam puts it, 4.5 actual trolls. 4.5 actual trolls, and then the Mahud King's like, well, they can hit hard, I too can hit hard. And yeah, so it's really nice to find sort of roles, and it's broken up nicely. I like a bit of that kind of symmetry going on where everything's where it's meant to be. So good job, Josh. Keen to see it. And now we're shocker. Another return of the king.
Oh baby! Now this is another one that's very similar to another one previously.
Yeah.
I've got Aragorn. He has got a lot of warriors following him.
Yeah.
We do have a legless with the rider there, which I think.
And the cloak, importantly.
Exactly right. Which is interesting that Aragorn does not have the cloak.
If I had to choose between the two, I probably would have put the cloak on Aragorn still.
Correct.
Simply because Legolas tends to be further back.
Possibly in Forest anyway.
King of the Dead, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly, with 9 warriors. There's a pretty good spread here with shield and spear. Obviously the correct answer is always to have a shield with these warriors. It is the correct decision. They go to a defense 8, which changes a lot of those maths.
Still, 20 warriors, all at defense 8, plus the rider, plus your 3 heroes. As much as we talk about the herald, it's going to be a solid list.
It is, and I just think the main linchpin here is going to be utilising Legolas's might to really get some value out of his model.
Well,
That's obviously a lot of the issues that people have with this list and this Legion is I'm going to lose a game and still have full might on Legolas. I just think you need to really make sure you use those resources correctly and really get in there where it matters. And keep an eye on Aragorn as well. Not having a cloak is going to hurt, but if you are just bum rushing him in straight into the front line, hopefully he'll do pretty well with that.
Yeah. Ticks the range, the shooting box, and ticks the cav box just, I would say.
It has a cavalry model.
This indeed is a cavalry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we have to go
Is there a singular term for cavalry, or is cavalry
Cav.
just cav?
Cavalry.
It's the same for...
One cavalry model.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure it's still cavalry. Cavalry is a generic
Yeah,
term.
Yeah, cool.
It's written enough times in the rulebook,
Yeah.
General.
I tell you what though, that Rider of the Dead has like a bullseye, like right there.
I'd still shoot at Aragorn.
Yeah.
No, of course. The word cavalry is from the word cavalier.
So we have a cavalier in the
A
list.
cavalier is meaning a horse-riding soldier. It's a derivative from the French word for horse, which means cheval. The cavalry would be treated as a singular entity when being referred to as en masse, but I think in that regard it would be called a cavalier as opposed to cavalry.
I'm going to use that in every list that has one cav.
I didn't come here to learn.
Hey, fuck you! That's what I'm here for.
Jack, you're being toxic.
By Britney Spears, yeah, no, it's a good song. Look, let's talk about her ability to know.
Moving on, the list no one cares to. No, I'm kidding. We'll come back.
Baronings. Love me some Baronings.
Look, Kylie taking something different this time around. I think she's been running a lot of Assault on Lothlorien recently. I did have a chat to Kylie before she submitted her list, and she's like, "Oh, do I go the Assault on Lothlorien and keep like the rhythm going, or do I try something different for the Australian Masters and round out that whole trip with something a bit fresh?" I was like, "Come on, Kylie! Like, try rounding yourself." And she's gone for the legendary Legion, the Beyonds.
The Beyondings.
No, just the Beyonds. It's great.
It's a sitcom about those.
Yeah. She's got the pretty cut and dry.
This bed is too.
The list can't be varied that much simply because of the way the points work. Everything's quite even. So you got Beyon leading 8 Baronings.
Yeah,
Baronings. Baronings indeed.
3 with Great Bow, and then you got Grim Beyon leading 7 Baronings, and with 2 Great Bows. There's not much to say here.
Look,
we know what bears do.
This is literally the perfect list for the points.
It's
You also you can't argue with the 1/3 bows, especially the Great Bows. You can't argue with giving the slightly higher model count to your leader warband.
Yeah. I would say I wish this list had banner potential. They do get the banner benefit from Grim Beyon, I believe.
They do, in fact. For both bears, they get they treat bears as a banner.
It's a pity that there's no VPs for it. I will say a lot of things are going to get hugged to death on this list. Like,
obviously, we do need to mention the fact that this list was nerfed in the latest FAQ.
Yes.
That the save given to bear models in bear form
is now natural 6.
Is a natural 6. So that's huge, both in terms of being a higher number, so 6 is bigger than 5.
That is in fact correct, yes.
But also being the natural 6, so you can't spend might on it.
No.
Technically, it does make sure that you are spending your might on other things, so it's a little bit freeing, but...
I'm just going to say it, I don't think that makes a big difference. Like, if you're playing with bears properly, I think
it's massive.
I think it's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference.
I'm just going to go fuck myself. I guess.
Yeah,
That's too talented, it doesn't affect him.
No! You need to be on screen if you're going to make noise!
This one gets cancelled all.
Anyway, would you like to join the casting cast?
The casting couch?
Yeah.
Auditions.
By the way, Jack is the one that's casting.
Absolutely.
He's the one for doing the audition.
I'm the youngest one here.
Do we need to say anything about bears?
It's fantastic. Look, I think they are really, really capable models, especially in the Legion.
Every model has burly. Everything hits harder than... Something's hit harder than Smaug, arguably.
Yeah, the crushing strength, heroic action, the monstrous...
A lot of people are going to play this list in the mindset, if I can kill enough Bjornings, the list will break.
No.
But also, they've got reasonable courage. The Bjorns,
they're fearless.
The bears are fearless.
Yep.
And you've still got to deal with 2 bears.
Yeah.
Monstrous charging bears that knock things over. Resistant to magic bears.
Yep.
Like, I think it's not that big a detriment to have the 6+ natural save now. I think it's good. because it you know, it doesn't feel so cut and dry like you're getting a free Malbuff all game long kind of thing. Yeah.
Just kill them before I get into bear form.
I will say
that is correct.
I will be visiting this list at some point, but they will not be bears.
I think it will be fun. I think this style of I think this list is fun.
Well, we should talk about the variety of smacks that are coming.
we're gonna get when we finish the roundup, we'll make some notes.
We hit the next mount.
Yeah. All right, we've got arguably the best legendary legion there is. Easily. Alert Scouts. Do you guys want to take it?
Yeah, so that's Lurt's Legendary Legion, so you got Lurt's with Shield.
Yep. Not for long.
The Urukai Drummer, I think, should have its own warband, because I believe it's a minor hero.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mahor is their Ugluk, and a Captain with Shield. Going for the extra might, and going for the Shield over the two-hander. I think that's an interesting choice. I probably would have given it the two-hander personally, just because you've already got so many heroes.
Yeah.
I think if you're worried about that being picked off as a weak link, just stick it next to Lurtz or Ugluk.
To clarify, the drummer is an independent hero which can be taken as part of other warbands.
Thank you.
You played a lot of Isengard. That brings me great shame.
I haven't played Isengard for a long time, since some shameful Masters appearances in like 2015 when I forgot that Saruman had 3 wounds and the Palanquin, the Palantir, and various other things that were a bit shameful at the time. But I like what Lachlan's done. I think it's a high model count, it's a fast moving army. Again, 4-on-4 needs 4s.
Best throwing weapon in the game.
Best throwing weapon in the game.
Correct.
Make sure, I want to hear about this at the end of the tournament. Yeah. Come and find us.
I tell you what, when you march with those faster scouts that have the bows, the strength 3 bows as well. Then what? They're moving 3 extra inches, so that's 11 inches. So you can move 5.5 inches and still shoot. That's
it's huge.
Incredible.
You can almost outmove some armies.
Yeah. Cav armies don't move that fast and shoot.
The other thing with Lurtz is obviously because it's the Legendary Legion, you can just throw yourself at heroes that you're going to eat for breakfast. Call that challenge. Get some extra might points back or shut down some of those little heroes. And I think the thing about this list is I think Lockie's going to have some fun with it, and I think opponents going to have fun with it too.
And it doesn't care. This list does not care about Maelstrom at all, in the slightest.
It is perfectly fine with going into it.
Cool. Good luck, Lachlan.
TBD.
We have Liam and...
I want TBD. That's not me.
2 dicks.
No.
I know what I'm running.
No, but he's...
Those big dicks.
Liam, hands down, if you can win the tournament with that many penalty points...
Good on you.
I'm rooting for you.
I'll also see the title of
so
I will root you if you do in fact win.
Well, granted, he could have submitted his list and he just doesn't want anyone to know.
Yeah.
It's in fact very secret, who knows?
Anyway,
good luck, Liam.
Good luck.
Speaking of secret lists...
Oh!
Now...
Wait.
Here comes the hypocrite calls. And the answer is yes. So when Jack and I were doing our theory crafting about, what beats Smaug? And the answer is not much when you can choose your scenario, at least to some degree. And I think it's hard. I don't think I've got enough practice with Smaug to call this is my year.
Oh, I've had enough practice with Smaug.
Smaug is dangerous beyond belief.
Yep. I briefly touched on it earlier, but in a light sense, that was coming from the beginning here and getting Adam to say, cool, let's allow Smaug. So I really want to play Smaug because it's a fun model. I thought it was a fun model. It's not a fun model.
It's a beautiful fun model.
It's a fucking terrifying model.
Do we want to delve deep into the Smaug encyclopedia, or are we going to kind of leave some surprises?
I'll leave some surprises, but I think Smaug is it's obviously very very difficult to play because most people look at an item and they think, am I going to get my points back, right? And Smaug is 700 points, so at best he will get exactly his points back if you kill literally everything.
And at worst you'll wipe and you give up every VP.
Yeah. So there's obviously a lot of pressure on what Smaug is bringing to the table. Smaug has so many options, as Jack mentioned, between the move speed, the knocking everything down, the barge that does strength 9 hits to everything. And then on top of that, you've got the Breathe Fire, which can still move 6 inches and fire up to 18 inches with a 2-inch splash.
And you can, in fact, still cast and breathe fire in the one turn.
Yeah.
And can't forget, in Lords of Battle, he can get more than 3 mine.
That is true. So look, I think we might do a post-Masters wrap-up where I reckon there'll be at least half an hour of just Smaug talk, because obviously Jack and I both are taking Smaug.
We'll do a Smaugathon episode.
Yeah, I mean, there will be a number of varieties of Smaug at the tournament. Come and look
Yes,
at
do we want to go through them and reveal, or just wait for the phase?
No, I think they're going to be... I think the answer... The hint I will give is that it will be chromatic in nature. It won't just be red, but oh boy, do we have some fun things waiting for you.
I hope you realise no one's going to understand what you meant by
Traps win games, though.
Tracks win games, exactly right. Andreas, paint my model better.
Well, speaking of models, what list do we have up next?
I love good old... I mean, he's not that old, he's my age, but he's very good sport. Luke Marziano, Marzi for short, Erebor Reclaimed, and Dale. I think this actually might be the Legendary Legion, but it isn't stated here because I've had a chat to Luke, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it's like I'm happy to go through this one. It's really clear cut. You got Dane, King Under the Mountain, old Dane, best looking model Dane. He's got a absolute sleuth of dwarves with spears and shields. One with the banner and the rest of the toys, and then 5 goat riders, which is actually given the cost of points and the cost of the actual models, is actually a fair bit. Then we got Brand, King of Dale, nothing to scoff at, really good with the stand fast, good stats, good with the anti-trapping sort of buff. Leading Knights of Dale with the extra wound buff when they get charged, which is handy, and then Warriors of Dale with a good mix of spear and shield, and then Escroth bows and spears. And then one Warrior of Dale, obviously for points, that just has the Escroth bow. I always tell Luke, Luke's been playing this list for pretty well since he got back into the more recent editions of Middle-earth.
The Dale stuff has been
he's been running this and he keeps running it better and better. He consistently, his ranking in tournaments is skyrocketing. Like, I won't be saying it's anyone in particular's year, but if someone had to play this list, I'm glad it's Luke, because he's getting quite proficient at it.
Yeah, if you would ask me, like, even I reckon 12 months ago, Liam, what's Luke going to take to Masters? I probably would have guessed this.
If you'd been asked 2 years ago, it probably would have been the same.
But I always love my games against Luke. I think that this list is really well suited to his playstyle.
Yep.
And I just think that it's just really, really solid.
Yeah.
Mix of dwarves, the
Goat Riders,
the defense, the Goat Riders with a bit of speed. You got the Knights of Dale for the anti-charge. Like, it's surprising how much damage they will do to you on the charge. I think it's a really nice list to lose together.
Yeah.
For me, I love this list. It's fantastic. I love Luke. He's a great guy.
Everyone loves Luke. Contender for best sports. There's a lot of contenders this year for best sports.
Don't get that from Jono.
Nobody from this podcast, though.
No one here, especially after the things we've said about people.
We're all bad people. I take nothing. I regret nothing. But yeah, no. In terms of Luke, fantastic. I think this is a great list for him, and I think he'll do well with it.
I'll talk in the context of the Legendary Legion, because I'm 99% confident it's just an oversight. It is the Legendary Legion.
Mm-hmm.
The hero combats to protect leaders. You've only got the 2 heroes, so you're almost always going to benefit from those 3 hero combats. The rerolls of 1, I think it's to wound. When it's a mix of Dale and Erebor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nicely rounded. Yeah. This is when he sent me a variation of this list, kind of leading up to Master's submission. He's like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "This is probably the most solid list I've seen in a long time. There's nothing it lacks. It's got a banner. It's got 2 good heroes. Got numbers. It's got fight value. It's got courage. It's got cavalry."
And despite the fact that I said not even 2 years ago, a consistent list is the list that can and should win Masters.
Yeah.
I have not done that.
Nope.
But Luke has.
That is somewhat my fault.
Luke has always been consistent. I'll give him that. Alright, good luck, Luke. We've got Mark McCallery, the king of not throwing weapons, because apparently it's easy to start a war over that.
Not only has he done that, he's also supplied us with a different font, possibly 2 different fonts.
Yes, and a different format. There's asterisks, there are W//. There are Rutabi spelt Rubati.
Oh,
My favourite.
Rubati.
Just Dragon Emperor. Not a run, just generic Dragon Emperor.
No, it's not a Harlequin. It's just
yeah. So my favourite part of this is that Brogy has the correct accents and enunciations on the I and the O. But Rubati is just generic female war leader.
Rubati.
Look, Mark is running host Dragon Emperor. It looks like a good mix. He's got the cataphracts. He's got the drum. Everyone loves the drum. He's got a good mix of Eastlings. I think he's almost maxed out Dragon Emperor, but that's the first Dragon Emperor warband I think that we haven't seen maxed out, or thereabouts. Ritabi's got a good mix. There's one acolyte on there if you really need to get somewhere fast with the bonus to jump and climb and whatnot test.
A nice amount of pikes. To be honest. I like the pikes.
A good sprinkle of some honesty bows. This is just nicely rounded 3-hero list. Yeah. I won't give Mark too much credit because Mark, but yeah. But look, he's run this like Lucas actually. He's run this list consistently.
He's run
or a variation.
Yeah.
So I think he'll do pretty well. He has taken a thrown weapon.
Of course, I'd be disappointed if he didn't.
I mean,
what's the singular term for a throwing weapon user?
A twat.
Weapon user.
A jerk. And it'll be that. It'll be 100% the one model that gets a range kill and not those.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Always. All right. We got Matthew C. Another Halls of Thranduil.
Now this is
Thanduil. Sorry.
Thanduil, not to be confused with his brother.
No, to be fair, that one is Adam's fault.
Yes.
I'm not blaming Matthew on that.
I love Adam. Oh boy, does he have dyslexia. Let's talk about the list. So, Thranduil again here. We saw this with Jonathan.
All the toys.
It's full stacked. He's got all his buffs, Delvin Sword, Circlet of Kings, Heavy Armor, and the Elk. He's got some Palace Guards with him as well. One there with a banner, and then 4 more with shield and spear. I've got some Mirkwood Elves with the shield there, 3 Mirkwood Elves with the Elf Bow and Spear, so getting some bows in there, and of course the Wood Elf Sentinel to match up with the Beatstick Hero. We've got another Palace Guard Captain with shield, 2 Mirkwood Elves with shields, 2 Mirkwood Elves with Elf Bow and Elven Made Glaives for that extra shielding ability. And then we have Grimbjorn.
Yeah.
An interesting addition to this list.
Yeah.
I think it's yellow?
No, it's green. As long as Halls of Thanduil includes Thranduil, no relation, then Grimbjorn counts as green allies, which I believe means you could also add in Beornings, because it says in his profile he mainly Beornings, but Beorn could not by himself. Yes,
it is. It's fascinating. I think it's really interesting bringing in the big monster, the 5/8.
We still all the +1s to wounds on all the rest of the elves.
Exactly right. Having that in there, especially as a side beat stick where Grimbjorn can just go and cause chaos.
Yep.
Thrandy is still later. He's still going to be a pretty big beat stick. I'm really keen to see how this goes.
This list for me begs 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, how much worse? Because he will be worse. How much worse is Grimbjorn outside of the Legion, where he loses his magic resistance and he loses his 6+ now,
and his ability to transform.
Are they naturally magically resistant? It's just the Beornings that aren't?
I think they're naturally resistant.
I think him and Beorn are both. I think they both are. So I think it's just the Beornings again. I think
and the transform. You're right.
To answer your question, or was that the first question?
That was my first
question.
Yeah. Okay. The second question that springs to mind is the one that Jack asked earlier about the correct number of Sentinels. And I think because you need Thranduil and Grimbjorn doing their work, you need a second Sentinel in this list, in my opinion.
Interesting. Sorry, I will jump in here quickly just to clarify some of the rules here. So yes, Beorn does get resistant to magic by base.
Mm-hmm.
Beorn.
Yep.
Again, like I said, the problem is that 4+ to transform.
Yep.
He needs to do that. He can use might to do it, but it's not automatic.
Mm.
Also, only Bear or Bjorn models may benefit from his heroic actions.
And I figure that's why Matt's brought...
For Beorn or Grimbjorn, you mean? So
both.
Oh, both, okay.
Yeah.
And I figure that's why the Palace Guard Captain is there, is to give that additional might. But I do wonder if you could... And again, I haven't done any playtesting with this list, I assume that Matthew C. has. I would probably consider dropping the Captain and the Captain's Warband, or maybe moving the Captain's Warband across to Thrandy.
That's ballsy.
Yeah. Bring in an extra Sentinel.
And add a couple of Beornings, I reckon.
And add some Beornings.
Yeah.
Because I think they come in packs of 3, so 3 is a beautiful number.
Well, if you
give yourself a great bow.
It is keeping with the L.
it's about the same points.
Because then you can go your high fight elf with some kind of glaive, backing up, or pike backing up a Bjorning that's
Burly backed up with +1 to wound elves.
With the great bows, obviously strength 4, 24 inches. I wonder if you put all your bows in the Bjornings.
The thing is, it's still an ally contingent, so you have to have the 1/3. What do you call it? Bow limit.
I still definitely think
It's across all of them, isn't it?
No, every contingent is applied the bow limit. Not even if they're green allies. I'm afraid. But please actually check that because that would have changed everything for me. Just assume I'm wrong because that's a safe bet.
But again, I'm really looking forward to seeing this on the table because I think that even though I would make changes to this, I think this list is going to give a lot of lists trouble.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll add is Thranduil doesn't feel like he has to do all the work in this list. He can actually sit back and give that bonus to as many elves as possible.
Yep.
Because even that alone is probably going to buy back points for Thranduil rather than him having to kill things to buy back points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, good luck, Matt. We'll move on while Jack tries to prove me wrong. Never happened so far.
I'm not trying to prove you wrong. I'm trying to prove myself wrong.
No, you're fine. We got Matthew D. I think that's Dodson Gary.
I would choose
Yeah. Riders Théoden, the only Rohan legendary legion we're going to see. Legion of... Is that the Death Legion? Yeah, Riders of Théoden is the Death Legion.
Yeah.
So, we got Théoden. Have to have Théoden with all the toys. Everything's mounted here. Got the Rohan Royal Guard. You don't often see this kind of legion without it.
Yes.
Because they hit so hard and they're just... Yeah, they're great. Especially with the auto pass courage. You got Elmar, Marshall with everything. Throwing spear, shield, everything. He's got a mix of Royal Guard and Riders, all with throwing spears. And then you got Derwin, Chief of the King's Knights with Horse. Arguably one of the best costed heroes in the game, just for what it gives. Gives you strike, gives you free hero combats. Has the biggest shield on a man model I've ever seen. Also leading a mix of Rise of Rohan and Royal Guard. Everything from what I can see here is throwing spears except the handful of Rise of Rohan.
Yeah.
And you got Gambling with the not so mighty as it once was Royal Standard of Rohan, but still formidable if you know how to play games.
Yeah, all that praise that I had for that Rohan list earlier has gone out the window. Fuck Rohan.
Correct.
I think that obviously it's a smart move, maximising your throwing spears. We've seen this list before and what it can do. Matt's no stranger to Riders of Théoden. And
he's a skillful player.
Yeah.
Very skillful player.
You only travel to do one of three things. Have fun, to learn,
take out the
or
podium.
to teach.
Yeah,
Yep.
to teach.
And so I look forward to seeing which Matt will be doing in his journey.
I hope that lingering cough he had at last Masters has finally left him, because that felt rough when he had it, poor guy. Best of luck, Matt. Oh gosh, you're getting serious, Jack. You normally wouldn't bring out a book.
Andreas, why don't you shut the fuck up?
You just click the mouse.
Yeah!
Let me read the book.
Now, that's a list. So you've got Bolg on Felwarg with 3 Gundabad Orc Warriors with Spear and 2 Warbats. So
from Azog Legion?
From the Azog's Legion list, so that means that Bolg gets Master of Battle. Allied with Azog's Hunters, Thimble on Felwarg. Narzag, it doesn't say on Felwarg here, so I think he's just on foot. Same with the Hunter Orc Captain. Each of the Hunter Orcs are leading Hunter Orcs on foot.
Yes.
So there's about 50% bows, you got some 2-handed picks in there, and there is a banner. This is an interesting list. I think the choice of doing the Legion with Hunters we've seen before to get Bolg / in other cases Azog, the Master of Battle, great choice.
Yep.
Love the 2 Warbats, I think 2
Perfect
is a great number.
Perfect.
I do worry that the Gundabad Orc Warriors with Spear might have been better spent elsewhere. And also, if you're going to put your Gundabad Orc Warriors, which have a higher have a higher defense, why would you not give them the banner?
I mean, ultimately, they could still end up with the banner.
Yes, they can be past the banner, but I would start with the banner on my defense 6 stuff, because that Hunter Orc's got 2 attacks that I would love to have with no -1 in a combat.
Oh, look, I like the list all around. I've run Hunter Orcs a fair few times, particularly with the Necromancer, because I find it's a nice combination with the magic and extra attacks and strength 4. I like this list in general. I think it's nice. There's always the argument with this particular evil list because it's the only one that gets the Warhorn on Orcs.
Yes.
Whether you take it or not. And look, it is the biggest courage buff for an orc model to get a Warhorn. That being said, it is a lot of points.
It's a lot of points for this style of list. I was playing around with an Azog's Legion / Hunters list myself, and that was my big question. Like, do you go the Warhorn? And I think, especially because we're seeing a lot of the, even before these lists were revealed, we're seeing a lot of the higher podium players, are the ones that are in those games, game 5, game 6,
yep,
that have been winning their previous ones, have some degree of terror.
Yep.
Whether that be...
Or a counter to terror.
Yeah, whether that be a Wraith, whether that be even as simple as Boromir who can blow the horn.
Yeah.
Like...
Which isn't a war.
Which isn't a Warhorn, it makes me really sad. Yeah. But I think I can see why Matt's made the choice. And I just don't know whether I would have gone the same direction or not. I didn't do any playtesting for my Azog's Legion / Hunters because I chose to do the silly Smaug play. But I hope Matt can do the playtesting for me. Let me know if you felt a Warhorn would have been a better use of the points at the end, or if you back yourself.
Yep. Only other one thing is Bolg gives Morgul arrows to the whole army just because he's in the Force. Doesn't matter that he's part of Azog's Legion. It just says in his profile, if he's around, all Hunter Orcs get the Morgul arrows, which honestly can make a difference. So,
Huge.
Good luck, Matt. Enjoy. Hunter Orcs are always fun. They're just fun.
Yeah, they're
They're
good.
just cool.
What a list.
Oh, mate. Are we going to say it?
Trapsman games.
Trapsman's games.
Yeah. I'll take it. Well,
Help, I can't read. Go on.
Look, it may feel unfair. Matt, good luck with Smaug. You'll need it. You also won't need it, depending on the scenario. But also enjoy.
Play smart. Play smart. Play smart.
Another Matt. I think Matthew's the most common name we've had.
I think so.
At this point.
Play smart.
We've got more hunters, and this time it's just straight hunters.
That is bold.
Again, bringing Azog
It's
and
bold,
together.
actually.
Yeah, so we're seeing another list that's bought both Azog and Bold. Thimble's a great choice. And then we've gone... The thing that I think about this list is if you're going the Hunter Orcs, I would have loved to see everything on Felwarg.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Not just because you said it, and I admire everything you have to say.
Yeah.
But I feel like at the point where if you take an Azog and Bold on the Felwarg, make a wave. Like it's going to hit everything strength 4 minimum.
Yeah.
You can
squishy, you need to get there.
You can take a Rohan-esque kind of approach because you still have the half bow limit. With the poison, well, I say poison, the Morgul arrows, which give you a pseudo poison effect. I think this would have been really nicely done as an all-mounted, very hard-hitting force. Because you've got the two heroes. Sure, you maybe fight 3 across the rest of the board predominantly, but it doesn't matter when you've got 2 heroes cleaning up and Thimble kind of just linchpinning the rest of them while your other heroes do the work.
Because, yeah, you've got about 23-ish warriors, and I just think because they're such low defense, it's going to be a little too easy to pick them off and to break, and then you run into that courage problem that we discussed.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got the 3 heroes that should have their courage bubble up, but you lose some priorities, you get them charged, your dudes start to run. So
I will say this will be fun. This will
yeah,
be really fun.
it's one of those lists, and I do want to give a shout out to everybody who's playing the style of list where you and your opponent are going to have a good time.
Yeah, it's just like I said before, anything Hunter Orcs, it's just fun. You either hit really hard and killing a lot, or you're getting smashed to pieces, but at the same time, you're just enjoying it.
Yep.
Cool. Good luck, Matt. We got Mike, Mr. Kerr, X-Clash winner. He's got a couple of podium. Yeah, X-TO.
This is interesting.
He's got some podiums under his belt, and he's running the 4+ list.
Exactly right. 4+. I win. Look, Saruman on horse there with the local warriors coming
He's
in.
your leader. I've got to make sure.
Correct. He is your leader. It is not Lurtz or Grima. So a lot of warriors in his warband there. Some with pikes. We do love pikes. Pikes are fantastic. And we mentioned that earlier. Having a banner in there as well is pretty fat, and then a Kerbane as well.
We know what the best part of this list is.
Yeah. Grima Wormtongue on foot.
I disagree. I don't
That's
think
not the best part of the list.
I'm going.
He's just naming the list.
Chill out. God. Lurtz with shield. He's got a lot of dudes with him as well. 5 archive shields, 4 archives with pike, 1 with the shield and banner, 4 warriors with crossbows, and 1 berserker with a weapon swap to axe.
That's the best part.
There we go. Now, interesting here. Obviously, the berserker is the best option here. It would only be made better by a demolition team. But having 2 banners again. This is the second one we've had with 2 banners. It's very fascinating. Super cool to see. And I think it's a lot easier to manage with these 2 sort of breakdowns. You've got Saruman on his own with those Uruk-hai on his list. You've got Lurtz with his own warband as well. It's easy to split this list. And frankly, splitting this list is pretty comfy. I'd be happy to watch either of those sides play on their own. And then Grima causing chaos in the background on the enemy team as well is pretty great.
There are 8 crossbows. That's all I'm going to say to start with.
Yep.
8 crossbows. I know, I've been having a few chats with Mike. I know that they have not yet performed up to expectation, which is actually the scariest part about this list, because it means that at Masters is probably when they're going to come good. Right?
Yeah. Crossbows and anything to laugh at. One Crabane is, always a nice addition.
I think it was a toss-up. It might have been a toss-up between a second Crabane versus that second banner.
Yeah.
But with a list like this, where you will have some interesting fight matchups.
Yeah.
I think the second banner is a good choice.
Adding to what Jack was saying, you can split the force because it's got the 2 banners.
Yeah.
Quite nicely. Obviously, you want to utilize terrain as best as you can, but it means if you do split up and your opponent goes for one part of the force, at least Grima will sap resources. So it's a nice addition. Good luck, Mike.
I would like to see Grima on horse.
Grima on horse. Shit list. Move on. No, I'm kidding, Mike. I love you, but I love
Mike has a
more.
Delightful display board coming up, which you will see as the
He
day.
has a delightful model he's painting as well.
Yeah. I wish you could paint better, but he does make a nice display board.
Oh, keep that in.
Nathan W. Minas Turf. I love a good Minas Turf list.
Regan can take this one.
So the selection of heroes is a crowd favourite with Boromir, Huron, and Madril. Huron's on horse. Boromir's on horse, but Boromir's got his lance, which bold.
Bold indeed.
Now, one of the problems with Boromir on horse with banner is he kills, but he's just not quite as consistent as this beast, Boromir on horse with that lance. That +1 to wound. You've got so much might, you should be able to guarantee the charge because you've got that 10-inch move. The problem, though, is I don't see enough backing up the beat stick. Yeah? If you had shown me this list, I would have been like, that's a Boromir with banner list, because there are not a lot of mounted things, and if you are trying to meet a threat, you're probably meeting it as a counter charge with Boromir, because otherwise he's probably going to get left behind. And that worries me a little bit less because Huron's there for your leader security, but I don't know. I think there's a reason we see Boromir with banner so much.
So that you can come second at Masters 2 years in a row.
Only one of those was with Boromir, thank you very much.
Sorry.
How dare you. It lives in shame in my second place Masters case.
It's a pretty big case.
It is. There's room for one more in there.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to be as critical as Liam. I think this is still nicely rounded.
The only thing funnier I can think of with having a snag on both ends is for having a snag come second to Coleman.
Look, I think the list is nice. It's just a killier version of ones we've seen before. Yeah, you could argue you could probably use a bit more mounted to get further than it's probably going to get with just the 3 mounted.
There's a lot of elite troops.
Yeah. There is. Yeah. You still have a banner.
Which will make up for the fact that you don't need Boromir's banner because you already have the Fight 4 and you're not relying on that Fight 5. But I think, you've gone all in on the elite. You need to make sure that you're winning those fights and making sure that Boromir is just chewing through people without one.
I will say, it's nice to have a little sniper warband.
Yeah.
Yeah, Madril with certain ranges.
That's very old school.
Yep, old school, works, and there's a reason it works.
Sits in a corner and shoots.
Yep. Alright, Ned.
Keeley?
It's Keeley, isn't
Keeley.
it? Yeah, Keeley, that's right. Running fiefdom, second fiefdoms, we've got a couple. Jack, go ahead.
I'll take this, yeah, absolutely. Cool, so we've got a pretty interesting fiefdoms list here. So we're dropping one of the regular heroes. We've got Imrahil there with the horse and lance, 6 knights on foot, 6 men at arms, and 2 axemen of Lossark. 4 along the fat on horse, with 4 knights on foot, 5 men at arms, and 1 knight mounted with lance. And we've got, instead of the typical pick, we've got a captain with armoured horse, lance, shield. He's got 2 knights of foot, 3 men at arms, 1 axeman of Lossark, and 2 knights mounted with lance. Which gives us, at the end of the day, 3 knights mounted with lance. We've got a captain with armoured horse. We've got 4 on the fat on horse and Imrahil on horse, and that is the mounted component. We've got a lot of knights on foot. We've got quite a few men at arms, but I don't know if this list is manipulating the army bonus as effectively as it could.
No one cares?
Yeah, no.
Why don't you fuck off, Andreas?
How dare you interrupt me saying, that was a good point. What is the points difference between a captain with armoured horse with lance and shield versus one of those named heroes that's going to potentially buff your axeman, for example?
Duinhir is cheaper. I know that much. Cheaper. I think Duinhir is 65 or thereabouts.
And it will give you 1 additional might point.
And it'll give you range, which this list doesn't have at all.
Yes, there is no shooting in this list.
That being said, like...
The captain does give you march, of course.
I don't mind that this list doesn't have range, though.
Which I think that Ned will use to close that distance. I think... I like the varied warbands. I think it's nice to have something atypical in terms of that third hero choice.
Not having Angborn gets rid of Fearless. So you don't have Fearless in your list. Angborn is 65 and so is Captain 65 base. So obviously Angborn can't take anything, he's base 65, so bringing the Captain with horse, lance and shield is going to be extra points there. Do you want to say something?
No,
for a gang size?
No. You finish up.
Yeah, so I
mean, you're wrong, but yeah, finish up.
Idea massive. Why don't you shut up? And in terms of Angborn, he's very interesting. He gives Fearless the models. He is only based on foot. So I am curious if he wants to bring that all-mounted sort of hero idea in there. He wants to give lance and shield to the model itself. In terms of the points breakdown, obviously the captain is 2-1-1, Angborn is 2-3-1. 2 attacks, 2 wounds, and 5 courage. Angborn does get that broadsword, which is a 2-handed sword, and on a natural 6, he does not get the penalty. But honestly, with those rules, I think the captain might be more consistent.
I was going to say you're wrong again, but that was actually good. Like, I wasn't expecting you to say that, to be honest.
I wasn't expecting you to have a good point.
You were like leading up to his grand finale, you were like, yeah, fuck that. We're taking Angborn.
Captain is actually in a better position than Angborn.
I'm glad you said the last part. I think it's just the martial version of your typical overlap aura list.
Yeah.
This is very much every hero is mounted, and they all hit really hard because they've got lances equivalent.
And we all know that horses are some of the best points you can spend on heroes.
Easily.
No one's arguing against that.
So you've got the immovable wall. Everything in these warbands screams to me, this won't move. Like, even if you've got a big hero at the front, you've got so much pike supported. 5-5 if Imrahil's around, if I'm correct.
5-5 is.
So they're just going to sit there while 3 heroes and a couple of knights, all with lances, just go around and eat things.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool. If you can't move my wall, this is going to eat you before you can break through. So that's what it screams to me, and I'm happy with that, even though it doesn't have any range. I will say, though, if you're versing a siege engine in Storm Camp, March.
He's got March.
He's got March.
He's got March indeed.
But definitely use it. So, look.
Andreas, you're incorrect. The captain has March.
I mean, we didn't have to say that. It's probably true in the first place. Look, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's the one list that will definitely use March the most.
I think it's currently the best fiefdoms list there.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, moving forward. Good luck, Ned. Nick M. Khazad-dûm. Good old Durin.
Yeah. Take this one.
I'll take this one. We've got Durin with 12 Hearthguard. So Hearthguard get the burly for an extra couple of points, couple of warriors, one with banner and shield, one by itself, just with the shield, I suspect probably for points. A couple of ranges with longbows, which is always a nice touch, because 3+ on a dwarf is quite tasty. A dwarf ballista, which is probably the most consistent for its points siege engine I've ever seen. Dwarf King, which is not usually seen next to Durin, but a nice touch for fight 6 with throwing axes and the 2-handed, leading a contingent of 1 ranger with all the toys, 2 Dwarf Warriors with shield and 2 Iron Guard for a mix of throwing weapons and 2 attack models. And then just a Dwarf Captain, good old reliable Dwarf Captain with shield, with some more ranges, one of them with more toys, and 4 Warriors with shield. This is just really nicely rounded. Yeah, this is almost, if not as solid as Luke Marziano's list. It's just ticking boxes. Got the range, it's got high fight, high courage, it's got some terror endurance.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think most people would try and go for the non-Dwarf King choice.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a solid hero. Like you can't argue with Nick's choice there in terms of, you've lost the double banner for King's Champion, for example, but as if you're not going to be able to keep that banner alive with surrounded by Hearthguard. Yeah,
well, I don't see anything that is wild to me in this list in terms of like opportunities to have a weakness. It's it's solid. It's got enough range.
It only moves 5.
Anyone who's never played Dwarves will tell you it's slow list, but it makes up for it in many different ways, and the Ballista is a really good way for that. So I'm happy with it. Jack, do you have any thoughts, or you just think it's solid?
No, I think it's pretty good. Like I said, I love the defense 8. I love the throwing weapons. I personally think that throwing weapons are what bring dwarfs apart from the lists, and I really think they bridge that gap of the 5-inch movement. You said perfectly just then. 5-inch movement sounds pretty slow, but when they've got throwing weapons and their defense 8, they're going to sneak up on you a lot quicker than you think.
Fun fact. So the thrown axe is a 1 point on Dwarf Range with a 3+ hit. On Wood Elves, 3+ to hit. Throwing weapons are 2 points. So it's I don't know what the consistency or thought process was there, but Dwarf Rangers with throwing weapons just as good as Wood Elves, if not arguably a little bit better for points.
Yeah. Dwarves are better suited to throwing things anyways.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Moving on. This is a good list.
Yeah. Now this is interesting.
Yes. Wait.
This one could be good.
You can.
This looks familiar.
Rivendell list. I've never taken Rivendell in a list, I don't think. But anyway, so this is a pretty good Rivendell Numenor combination, very similar to what we saw earlier in the
very similar.
Very similar indeed. So there you go, Glorfindel with the Armour of Gondolin and the Asphaloth. Both big updates there. He's got the High-Elf warrior with banner and shield. He's got 4 High-Elf warriors with shield and spear, 3 with just shield, 4 with bow, and a Rivendell knight with shield, just to get a bit of movement there. We do have Curtin on his own. 1 half with bow, 2 halves with shield and spear, 2 high elves with just shield, and 1 Rivendell knight again, so 2 mounted warriors there. And then Isildur with horse shield and the ring, 5 warriors of Numenor with shield, and 2 warriors with shield and spear. This is pretty classic. I'm going to run the elves in the front and the warriors in the back, or vis-a-vis. Glorfindel's going to wreck any monstrous day, Curtin's going to cast Blinding Light, and Isildur is going to run in with Glorfindel and knock that fight down for any big threats.
I don't really have anything to add to that.
This list, compared to the last Rivendell Numenor, we are seeing a smaller Numenor contingent,
yes.
Which I feel that's more common to see.
I think so. Yeah, generally you have 60-40 or even 75-25% Numenor to Rivendell, and it's interesting to see. Yeah, especially they've all got only 2 of them got spear.
Yeah.
So all the Numenorians have shield, only 2 have spear, which suggests that they might actually be going in the front line as opposed to the back line. So the elves provide the fight, and the warriors are on the front line with the shield. Though I believe the warriors of Numenor are fight 5 with the shield.
You mean defense 5?
Defense 5, sorry.
Yeah, correct.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
No, you're right.
Yeah, defense 5 with the shield. So breaking a bit of the existing sort of theory crafting in terms of having the elves in the front and the Numenorians in the back, but I think it should be fun. I'm curious to see how it goes.
Cool. Good luck, Nilish. Noah, okay. It's an interesting list because you've got an interesting leader. Cool. So, we've got Mouth of Sauron with Armoured Horse. Has to be the leader. It's the only Valor hero here. Everything else is Fortitude. Even the big old Shagrat with the Beat Stick shield. There's a mix of... It's a wild mix, actually. You got Morg Stalkers, Wild Riders, Black Numenorians, Uruk-hai, even Orc. This is probably the most varied mortal list I've seen in quite a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shagrat's got all the toys and also a possibly equally mixed kind of warband. Even some Random Orcs fluffed in there. Gurits, really nice for the reinforcement bonus. Some more Warg Riders and a larger contingent of Rannans, and then a mix of 5 Orcs with a combination of weapons. And then Kardush, because you can't leave Mordor without Kardush. Another Morgul Stalaka, my favourite. A couple more Uruk-hai, and then a good chunk of Orc Warriors with a nice mix. This is like, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest.
This list, it's going through for consistency through diversity.
That's what I was going to say. It's consistent, but not normal.
It's also got Shagrat, which is just such a good hero.
Oh
yeah.
Especially with that shield, causing knockdown to infantry models, and
you can just throw Shagrat in there.
Yeah, because he's not the leader. No. Who cares?
Mount
Throw him in there. Yeah. Hit him with some fireballs, and you've got Gurits for consistency as well.
What I will say, and I think this list kind of highlights it as well, if you can see it visually, is we've seen a lot of lists so far that are quite different in terms of the models they're bringing.
Yeah.
They're all very varied. They're not bringing 12 war riders with bow. They're bringing 2 with bow, 3 black Numenorians, then 2 Uruk-hai with bow, then 2 with 2
and the Mordor Uruk-hai. Who brings Mordor Uruk-hai? So
an absolute Chad.
Who owns Mordor Uruk-hai?
Absolute massive.
Well, I mean, if you're running Kirith Ungol at any point, you'll probably have some.
But even then, like a lot of lists are bringing a very varied number of warbands and really trying to test out all the different models. Like even Mahud, we're seeing the half trolls. Trying to test out all these different models that are in the list and really trying to fit them into these warbands, which I think is really fascinating, and I'm really excited to see how they go.
I want to say one thing. I would have loved a couple of the Mordor Uruk-hai to be swapped out for Blackguard. Blackguard, I think, would have a nice place in a varied list. Yeah. You get the extra fight, you get the extra strength. Defense 6 matches up with the Black Numenorians. But other than that, like, it looks fun. Like, I'm sure it's more confusing on paper. Once you see it in the flesh, it'll probably make a lot more sense in terms of what goes where and how it's synergizing. Kardush always makes sense. Even without Ringwraith, you can always get value out of him. Gurits, you get the extra might and you get the reinforcements. Shagrat, you can throw him in. No questions asked, you're not worried. And then the Mouth of Sauron, there are enough Warg Riders to protect him there, and he can go off, do something, support Shagrat with a transfix, and just stay alive, because he's fast enough to stay alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
cool. Good
very
job.
Interesting. Good
job,
luck,
Noah.
Noah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Paul G, another Return of the King list, and I think Liam's going to want to touch this one.
Aragorn, nothing specified, so we're assuming no cloak.
Poor decision.
Yeah.
Shit, bit harsh.
No.
Meaning a warrior with banner, 2 warriors with shield, Legolas with armor, 2 warriors with shield and spear, King of the Dead, a rider, a warrior, 3 warriors, 1 with spear, everyone with shield, and a herald with shield.
Oh baby,
with 4 warriors, shields with 2 spears.
Herald's a nice touch.
Herald is a nice touch.
What I think
Legolas has armor, and neither Aragorn nor Legolas have the Elven Cloak.
These are the things I think I would point out. The first thing is, again, Aragorn and Legolas, it's 5 points each. It's really going to save you, especially in some really, critical situations of, oh my god, they have 19 bows, I'm going to stand behind this tree. The other thing as well is the banner selection.
It's in Aragorn's warband.
Yeah. Obviously in the Legendary Legion, that Aragorn counts as a banner for spirit models within
6 inches.
6 inches?
I believe it's 6, yeah.
Yeah,
so 6 inches, so obviously they're going for putting it in Aragorn's warband must be going for the points there.
I think it potentially just could be an oversight. I mean, I personally believe banner always benefits from the King of the Dead, who hasn't got the might to back up his attack, so it might have a
I think the Herald is a fantastic decision. It really busts the King of the Dead. I think that taking the King of the Dead on his own without the Herald is going to neuter his ability to do things, whereas bringing a Herald, even though it's 75 points with the shield, it's going to give him extra might, it's going to give everyone resistance to magic, and they're fight 4, they're pretty hardy, they've got defense 8 with the shield, so they are pretty sweet as just a regular captain.
It is the smallest list we've seen out of the Return of the King League.
And that's to do with the heroes.
Yeah.
But it's got the 2 riders as well, obviously.
Yes.
Which is going to impact your number of foot troops. But I think, obviously 2 riders is better than 1. But I think the 2 riders will just mean it's more consistently able to benefit from the cavalry, not the cavalier.
No, it's only singular.
Cavalier, that's correct.
Exactly right.
I mean, my only other thought is that It's the one Return of the King Legendary Legion that we've seen today. That would just have to leverage more terrain to get the advantage out of the smaller numbers. But other than that, it's I always say yes to a Herald. Firstly, they're gorgeous models, and B, the King is so much better with the Herald.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
I think people get worried about the point investment with 75 points, but you got to remember that the Herald really buffs the shit out of the King.
Yeah.
He really
Can't be baited out with magic as easily.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
He really makes the King worth more than his points.
Yeah.
And really makes up for the point investment with the Herald. So, yeah.
3 extra actions for the King. Easy.
Exactly.
Good luck, Paul. We've got, yes, PJ from Victoria with a very interesting list.
This is, go on then.
Yeah, it's got Miss Tirith, it's got Lothlorien, Misty Mountains. What doesn't it have? It's got King Elisard. That I've not seen in a very long time, but if PJ can pull it off, hats off to him.
You started PJ's list without me.
I mean, in all fairness, you're not even coming back at this point. Do you want us to wait? We'll just sit here in silence.
I imagine this being a good cut point for the next episode.
Oh.
I think Elisar is interesting with no war gear.
With no, what's this?
No war gear.
No war gear. Ah, yes.
He's sitting on his own, he's got nothing to do. I don't know if that's intentional, but I think it's a poor decision if it is.
Look, I think it's going to be a confusing list for opponents. You've got a lot of threats, and Galadriel, while she won't kill you outright, it's not something you want to ignore for the entirety of the game.
She's pretty spicy.
The mirror to give Guahir and Elisar, I guess Aragon, back their fate consistently is nice. And there's a nice little chunk of warrior breakdowns there that will just kind of buff out numbers and create a wall so the rest can pivot around it.
Yeah, I don't know if the wall's enough. You've got 9, 10, 15 warriors there.
Yeah.
Against a particular scare list, especially something like half trolls or an Easterlings buff Dragon Emperor. If you minster those warriors, suddenly the fate's nice with the mirror. But as I've told Liam, you can in fact. I don't know if I should release that info.
I don't know.
Well, we'll just get Liam's thoughts. We've had a smidge. Liam did want to have a chat about PJ's list. I'm sorry.
Sorry, just because I love PJ.
Everyone loves PJ.
I like PJ.
Look, in terms of this list, it's got some really interesting key points. Obviously, you've got just the one bow, which I'm sure you've mentioned, the Citadel Guard. I think that obviously you're taking Galadriel for the mirror, but what are you really gaining out of her with those warriors?
I mean, it's a consistent spellcaster, granted.
Yeah, but I mean, why take the
Warriors
smaller number of warriors when you could take more elite Minas Tirith troops? Why take the 5 warriors?
Do you want to know why?
Yeah.
Because PJ wants to have fun.
And that's why we like PJ.
Sorry, can you explain that to me again?
PJ, fun.
This game's
PJ, you roll the dice because when you see the 6, you get this dopamine hit.
You don't see a 6 because you see symbols.
You see, sorry, you see symbols.
Look, interested in seeing this list. I know Birdbath has been run with success over in other countries, but
I don't mind Birdbath in this list.
Filth.
I don't like Birdbath, but I do like PJ. So
when PJ runs it, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look, technically, King Aragon and Birdbath is thematic at some point. I think Galadriel's really the Birdbath here. She's literally got the Birdbath.
Is an eagle flying with her pool really thematic in any situation?
Well, it'd be thematic if he based Guahir on the mirror.
Does he touch the mirror in the movie / the book?
You're right. Red eyes. Move on.
Moving on. Good luck, PJ. It's gonna be a fun list regardless of what happens.
Fuck you, but I love PJ. So
you got Pranav with Minas Tirith. This time Minas Tirith spelled correctly.
Denethor.
Keeping it in the family.
Keeping it in the family.
So to keep it in the family, you got Boromir with the banner this time.
With the correct wargear, you mean?
Yeah. You got Denethor, who of course has to be on foot. And then Faramir, heavy armor, horse, lance, shield. So deck him out. Faramir's got the knights to back up the fact that Faramir may have to charge because Denethor's there. Boromir negates the fact that Denethor has to take the courage tests. Denethor must be the leader, which also just means you can be more reckless with your Boromir.
Yeah. But still get the banner bonus.
But still get the banner bonus. I think that we're likely to see Boromir with Denethor a lot and using Faramir as that alpha strike force, or your counter-attack force to get that fight 4 running back into the shield. The banner range. But it's got a lot of tools.
I think that Faramir with those 6 knights is going to be a strong flanking force. That comes around the corner and hits you in the back. You're really going to struggle with it, especially if Boromir is hitting with no, bounds on him because Denethor is the leader. He's just jumping in there with his 6 might, causing everyone to be 5/6/7. You're going to have a lot of problems here if you can't get to Denethor.
This is a really lovely, beautiful theme. It's not one you see very often at all. But I will say from a gaming perspective, swapping out Faramir for Huron because Denethor's in the list gives the feelers to Huron when he's within range. Gives the reroll for the fight.
Reroll's huge because Huron's only got the 2 attacks.
And he's got the Mastercrafted Sword, which means if he's winning on that reroll, it's such an added bonus. And also, Huron just, if Denethor, because Denethor is reasonably frail in terms of survivability, having Huron around just denies your opponent points.
I am curious as well, and to go on to your point you're about to go to, does Denethor need that many models in his warband?
No, that was not the point I was going to go to. It's a good question. I think based on the way that this list has been set up, the answer is yes. Just purely because there's not too many more that can go into Boromir's, and you want to make sure that Denethor is protected with that higher fight. The question that I was going to have was on... Sorry.
Sorry.
It wasn't even a question. I was going to say, one of the reasons you bring Huron is because Huron is a gorgeous model. I love that Huron model, standing there, 2 hands on the sword, on foot. You only take him on a horse because a horse is just such good points.
Yeah, no, bang on. This is a nice, very lovely themed list. I think it can do a run. Yeah.
Alright, next up.
We've got...
White Council.
I'm just going to tell Riley to go fuck himself at this point.
Yeah, look, Riley, this has been tried and tried before. We'll go through it. So it's Tom Bombadil from the Wanderers list here. This is your ideal bubble list. So this is working off the fact that 25mm is not equal an inch. It means that if anyone is touching Tom Bombadil, you cannot charge him. This involves Tom Bombadil, Saruman the White, Galadriel the Lady of Light, Boromir of Gondor with shield, Dwalin the Dwarf, and Bomba the Dwarf.
I'm assuming Sauron the White is going to be the leader of this.
It says so here, yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Tom Bombadil was listed first. I assume that's just as a...
Yeah, Tom's in Independent here, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not sure what to say. I know what you're trying to get going here, Riley. It'll be fun for you, probably not for anyone else.
And I think you'll be surprised by the number of ways that this can be countered.
That's my door alarm going off. Thanks, Emily.
Yeah. Look, I think it's nice. It's got, it's got the standard stuff. It's got a beast stick. It's got the caster. It's got the blinding light. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't work.
See, here's the thing. With a list that has so few models, you've got to ask yourself,
what are you trying to achieve?
Well, how are you going to win?
Well, that's because we know the objective is obviously the invincibility bubble.
Yeah. So you get even if you put every single one of those in your bubble,
their objective
to protect them. How are you going to get them to achieve the goal of the scenario?
Look, what my thoughts? Genuinely, I think Riley's trying to show off a synergy of certain heroes with certain abilities, put together with Tom to create. He's trying to literally create an invincibility bubble.
He wants a wrecking ball.
I think he wants to do it better than others have been done before. Which honestly, I haven't seen one done like this. So
I like the choices that he's gone with.
100%.
But at this way, you can't see Thor and drown.
Look, I will say everything around Tom is still reasonably targetable. There are ways to get around it. Riley, you're a great guy. You're a fun guy. I think you're a twat for taking this. I think you are.
Yeah, there are ways around this, and I think you need to apply yourself to different scenarios. And I think a lot of people that they miss when they're building this list is, okay, what happens if you're against a horde list? Or, okay, what happens if you're playing an objective scenario? Or what happens in any situation where you need to break the bubble?
I will say, veto does help this list a lot.
It does help, but I don't think it helps enough.
You're going to have fun with it. I'm not sure about your opponents. But it's something new that I can't say. The concept's been tried, but this variation of it, I don't think it's been tried, so I hope you enjoy it.
I don't.
Tell us how you really feel, Jay.
I'm sorry.
I think we're going to pause here for a bit.
Oh.
Or shall we just power through?
Power through.
Power through?
Mr. Blacksmith.
Yeah.
Oh boy, do I love Rob.
Yeah.
Rob's a great guy. He's run a lot of eagles before. So the Gwaihir...
Sorry, you go ahead.
The Gwaihir Giant Eagle combination is nothing new to him.
Yeah.
Isildur is always scary. That's strength 5.
Yep.
Huge.
Fight 6 with the
Always
the
getting
ring.
you points out of Isildur.
And I just love the fact that he's just gone, you know what? Let's see more than 6 Warriors of Numenor on a table kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's nice to see the difference from those last alliance lists where you get 5 or 6 Numenorians. He's like, nope, we're going full Numenor. We're going to Captain Isildur. Get a bunch of warriors to work with. I think it'd be fun. I think it's really cool to see in combat. I'm really excited to see how he plays it.
And I wouldn't even mind playing against it. It's
Absolutely right. I think it's fun.
I'm really excited to see Guahir spelled correctly.
Also,
I'm excited to see Guahir where it's not just the token, you've got the giant eagle also included. I'm excited because if, nerd out moment, if you've read any of the Silmarillion or the Downfall of Numenor, there was an actual eagle's roost in Numenor before its downfall, so that, a little bit of like lore connectivity there, which is nice. I just think it's fun. Like, almost all vanilla Numenor is fun. Adding the bird contingent in is quite lovely, and Isildur is just, you can just throw him in because he's not your leader, so that's just nice. So good luck, Rob. It looks interesting. Yeah. Russell, Alert Scouts. This is actually quite similar to what we've recently seen. Yeah,
we're seeing this time, so it's Lurtz, Mahor, Ugluk, and the Scout Captain with a 2-handed axe.
Yes.
So it's 2-handed with the weapon slot, which is really interesting.
You're going to go balls deep if you're going to take that?
Oh, yeah. So, what's that? Strength
7.
With a +1 to wound, 2-handing.
So strength 5 base, so strength 7...
It's effectively strength 8 when you go with that piercing strike 2-hander.
Yeah, strength 8.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's massive. If you can pull off a strike combination, that guy is trapped in something, is dead. It's pretty well dead.
1 banner, 1 drum. I like it.
Sprinkle of bows.
I think it'll be fun for Russell and his opponents.
Yeah.
So
this is probably the most nicely rounded Lurtz list I've seen in some time. I mean, they're all quite nice. Most Lurtz lists tend to be. But I actually quite like the difference in the 2-handed axe captain. That's nice.
Scott. Halls of Thanduil.
Halls of Thanduil.
And Arnor.
I mean, I don't know what to say, to be honest.
Look, it's got the higher model count because you're taking Malbeth.
Yeah.
There's Warriors of Arnold, which are relatively cheap. There's some hobbits in there.
Got the horn.
Survivability.
The horn.
The horn is a good choice. And then you've got Thrandy, who I'm assuming is going to be the leader, but I'm not sure.
Look, I would say it's probably the most arguably better choice.
Ardabu is Ardabu a legend?
Yes, they are. They're both legend. However, Thranduil doesn't give the army bonus, so he doesn't actually have to stick back and stay safe. So either or could be the leader. I will say there is one error on this list.
The bracket?
No, I mean that's beautiful. I think it was intentional.
Disagree.
I think it's the Mirkwood Cavalier.
Ardabu is
yes.
Ardabu is Valor.
Alvadu is Valor.
He is a
There you go.
Valor.
Thranduil has to be leader. Yeah, and
Also-
he's leading one Cavalier. I'm never going to forget that. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
That's what I'm here for.
Scott, I hope you enjoy this combination. There's a nice sort of like battle line brick wall happening here with a touch of Fight 5 and kind of versatile units from Thranduil. Yeah, it'll be fun to play with.
Oh, Mr. Rosado.
Oh, King of the Stirring. Shit, like specifically.
Shitlord, I respect him, I love him.
Does he take it too far? No one knows, we do know. Is he fun? He's always fun. He's great to play games with. He always runs wacky stuff.
Yeah, and I think he showed a sneak peek of some of those...
at the Medbury tournament, yeah.
And so, he's got Fellowship and Rivendell. You got Aragorn Strider with horse, armor and bow. Boromir, horse and shield. The twins, both with horse and bow. And then on foot you've got Gildor.
He loves his Gildor.
Yeah, that 8-inch move, taking his exiles with him.
Pretty much max exiles.
Throwing dagger memes. The only thing we don't have in here
is a banner.
Yeah.
You know what? You've got enough might that I don't care at this point.
You're right, because you've got a bunch of shooting and you've got those heroes that can really punch through a line. It doesn't matter as much that you don't have
what are you up for?
Yeah.
You can just punch through theirs.
Yeah. Twins will go berserk if they need to, and honestly, I don't think it matters in this lift. They can.
Oh, I think it's one of the funniest things.
Absolutely right.
Boromir will be a bomb, literally just a ticking bomb. When does he let loose with all 6 might?
Sorry, no fate, but boy, does that 6 might burn.
Gildor is probably the most consistent thing in this list, and Aragorn will just do Aragorn things.
Gildor has spells?
Yes, he has
does have
immobilize, and I think it's just immobilize. Actually, I think it's
but
just immobilize.
I certainly wouldn't forget about that, because just that little bit of magic will really help make sure that your heroes on horse are getting into combat.
Absolutely right. Gildor, yeah, he just has immobilized and he has 4 will.
4 will. I thought that was the case.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stand up. I'm going to make Andreas come back.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list and I'm like, yeah, I could talk more or less about this list, but I'm going to wait for Andreas to come and sit down and change the list.
He's not going to cut that out.
What am I not going to cover out?
He's on the challenge.
Liam and I complaining about you.
Guest appearance!
Just trying to feed my cat.
Yay! Nothing to see here. What am I not cutting out?
Scuff, scuff, scuff.
Scuff, scuff, scuff. I'm not going to listen to any recordings.
I'm
so
well aware.
yeah, cool. I'm just making sure. Are we done with Sean? I think
Yeah,
everyone's
we are.
done with
I'm
Sean.
not done with
at this
Sean,
point.
I'm done with this list.
Yeah.
Sean's list?
No. Settle down, woman.
Simon P.
Simon P. How'd you know Simon P was coming up?
I had a guess.
You had a good guess, yeah?
Farharad and Serpent Horde here.
I'm still convinced Saladin's the most common hero at this point.
I think Mahud Kings are. There's 2 Mahud Kings there.
Named hero, sorry. Other than Smaug.
I'm a named hero other than Smag, maybe Suladan, but I think Smag is probably up there.
All I'm going to say about this list is Dan May would be proud.
I think so.
It's a nice list.
It's pretty nice. 2 Mahud Kings there. Only one has the War Spear, and I don't know why it's not the leader.
Because someone
Because, yeah,
Someone is
yeah.
leader, you're right, sorry, apologies.
Also, we've got a half troll theme going on.
There is, I'm
Yeah.
really happy. Half Trolls are fantastic. They're really funny models,
Yeah.
they're really cool to see. I think they're going to do a lot of work, and I'm really excited to see what they do in some of these games. Understand how they're going to sort of, do a lot of swing work, I think.
Yeah.
Having 2 kings here is interesting versus having the March with the Tribe Master.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then obviously 5 raiders there with the 2nd king with the War Spear, obviously having a flanking list there to go and cause havoc, and the main Mahud king with those half trolls supporting them and going into the fights, and the Mahud warriors with the blowpipes there as well.
I'll let you
you go.
pop in a second. I just really want to point out, and this is not a criticism to anyone who runs these kinds of lists. I just feel like if you're running these 4 heroes specifically, why not run an all-mounted list kind of thing? I think it really lends itself to an
And that's the other part of the list is we've got Suladan and Serpent Lord with 6 Trojan warriors on the ground with spear, and then the Betrayer who is presumably on foot.
I would assume so. I mean, it seems like
Yes.
Saladin's on foot too, actually.
Yeah.
Unless it's just a typing error.
Well, I don't know.
Wait, is only one of the kings on camel?
It looks like
It
that.
looks like it as well.
That's
Yeah.
not the, yeah.
So, interesting.
If they're all on foot, it's more interesting for obviously the reasons we talk about.
Yeah.
Mounting is great. I worry that in this list the Betrayer is not doing enough. I know the Betrayer is there to assist with the half troll terror, but could you not have achieved that with a hero that could just achieve a little more? Why not just put in the Witch King?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a thematic thing. Obviously, the Betrayer is great with poison stuff and the Farharad and Serpent Horde, but yeah, here he's not really doing much at all.
I'm just gonna say, I always enjoy Mahud. I always enjoy Sword, and a Betrayer's always nice, even if he's not utilised the way we would try and utilise him. I just think Simon will have his work cut out for him. Honestly, that's the best way to put it, especially with no banner.
Yeah.
I hope the 3 trolls can carry.
I hope this is just Adam not typing this properly and everything's mounted.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Good luck, Simon. Got Steve Kasim.
From running Rivendell.
Kasim. He's running the Red Alliance, even though there's no alliance.
Correct.
What do you call it? Rivendell.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. And he made sure everyone knew he wouldn't care.
Redvindel.
Yeah, Redvendell.
Red Vindel. Mm-hmm.
So it's Elrond, Master of Rivendell, Heavy Armor and Horse.
Yeah.
Gil-galad, High King, Horse
Beautiful.
and Shield. Glorf with his armor and Aspaloth.
Yep.
Arwen, Elven Cloak and Horse. So
Always love an
I'll
Elven
take
Cloak.
Double Aspaloth. And then Bilbo, Old Man, fully kitted out.
Yeah.
Mithril Coat, Sting, and the One Ring.
So I'm gonna call Steve out for this one. He's hunting for the best sports because I don't care about what I take list.
It's a bold choice.
It is a bold chase. I hope he knows how the ring works, because I wouldn't put past Steve just be like, oh yeah, I just like Bilbo.
Yeah, because Old Man Bilbo has the version of the ring that's awoken.
It can
It's
do
awoken,
things to
yes.
him. I mean, granted, you're gonna be busy dealing with Gilgalad, Glorfindel, and Elrond.
Yeah.
That I think the ring's kind of gonna not take up all of your attention.
Yeah, I don't think the ring is the issue in this one, because also, you know, you've got a hobbit has to catch up to a possibly 12-inch moving
True.
horse.
And you've got to fight 6,
A
fight
very
9.
sturdy hobbit as well, with the mithril coat he's taken it.
True, yeah. But I think that it'll be one of those ones where there's going to be a very swing list. I think you're going to go in hard, and if your dice are with you, you're going to kill some stuff, and the moment the dice betray you, you're going to lose horses, you're going to start getting bogged down.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be fun for both sides. I think that's the main thing.
I mean, generally speaking, it's a tough list to play with when you've got a small model count and models that aren't very combat inclined. But I think a lot of people just forget you can just take Bilbo in the Rivendell list. And
Yeah, absolutely.
that's a really nice touch, really nice addition. So enjoy that, Steve. I think it would be just be fun.
Yeah.
It'll just be fun. All right, we've got Theo
Fiefdoms.
with fiefdoms, and actually a similar sort of breakdown to what we saw with with Ned. Yeah, very similar. There's
More archers.
same heroes, a few archers, or a few of the rangers sprinkled in. This is just well rounded. Yeah, I will say there is no additional banner to the Imrahil effect. That's one thing I know. But it just seems like it ticks more utility boxes.
Yeah. I like the consistent
The warbands are broken up really nicely.
warband
Yeah.
makeup.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of the things we said about Ned's in terms of the
I think
captain over other choices.
So good luck with it, Theo. I think it'll hit hard and you've got versatility. Good luck. Yeah. Tim.
Well, Kylie didn't
Tim.
take Assault on Lothlorien,
So
but
she made sure someone would.
Tim did.
Tim, you're a jerk. I
I
love it.
like the inclusion of the Wild Wag Chief.
Yes.
Oh, baby.
That is such
Yes.
a good choice with Assault on Lothlorien. The Enraged Beast on something that's not your leader. There's some Wild Wags there to help get the numbers, move around with the move.
And I will say,
traps.
if you're not taking Wild Marauders, your second best bet is the Chieftain.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spiders. There's 5 spiders in this list. Yeah.
Yeah. But you get the free upgrade from Ashrak, which is nice.
1/7 of your points are in spiders, and people know how I feel about them because hopefully they've listened to the last 77 lists that we've done. But Tim's no slouch in terms of design. Tim's no slouch when it comes to playing, and if this is the list that's been play tested and has come up travelling, people need to be worried.
Yeah, I'm still reading through it now, but it's not really missing anything.
No, it's pretty solid.
It's as far as Assault on Lothlorien goes with lower defense. Typically, it's still pretty solid. Everything's consistently. Actually, it's a pretty even breakup between defense 3 to defense 5, like that whole range. So it's not like you're going to focus on just one thing. It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Do you have the heating on?
I don't. Is it hot in here?
It is.
Alright.
It's fine.
Give me a sec. I'll.
No, we'll finish this.
Also, it's warm in here because we're doing stuff, and I'm also not cutting that out.
Yeah, no, I hope not.
Yeah. I want you to express how uncomfortable you are on. Yeah. It's okay, Jack. We'll get you something cold.
Thanks.
Tom D. Moria. This is Liam's kind of Moria. Back in the day, kind of Liam Moria.
This is a really quintessential Moria list. You got Durbers, the Goblin King of Moria.
Not the Goblin of Moria.
He's not just yeah.
You've got Groblog. You've got your Captain with Shield.
Yeah.
And your Moria Shaman. You can support the Watcher in the Water.
Oh, baby.
Do we need to say a lot about it, to be honest?
Look, I think that I would say that this is just a fairly consistent Moria list. I do worry in lists like this that outside of the Watcher, you just don't have enough staying power.
Yeah. There are a couple of Orc Marauders sprinkled in there.
Well, that's not my issue. My issue is the fact that when you look at the war bands where you've got the warriors with the shield and several warriors with shield and spear, I think that you could drop the shields off your spear guys and pick up probably 2 extra dudes across the list. With shield, because your front line is what's going to die first. I think in a list like this, you probably take even, at least a 6-to-4 ratio, even higher, of shields to spears, because you're going to be doing a surprising amount of shielding while your Marauders, your Devers and Groblog and the Watcher do their work. Otherwise, you're going to start to struggle.
Look, this list does two things. It supports the Watcher and it capitalizes on the army punch.
I think you could do with one with Bat Swarm as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got the Fury, it's got the March, it's got two solid points costed heroes with strikes and defense.
You can get the birds up to fight 6.
Naturally. Without the strike. And it's got the Watcher mechanic with the Bat Swarm. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing how
it ticks the boxes. I'm
whether
happy
Tom
with
plays an aggressive Watcher or a defensive Watcher.
Yeah.
Right? It'll be good.
Sure that, Tom. Tristan, Kingdom of Moria. Sorry, no. There's an error there. It's Kingdom of Khazad-dûm.
Khazad-dûm.
Yeah.
Durin, Dwarf King, and the King's Champion there.
This is a nice combination of 3 consistently fight 6 beat stick heroes. Like,
So yeah, Endurance Warband, you got 6 Half-Guard, 3 Vault Warden teams.
yeah.
The King with the throwing axes and the 2-handed axe.
Two
has some
banners.
warriors with shield and bow, 3 Iron Guards. And the King's Champion, in addition to the 2 Heralds, you've got some Dwarf Warriors with shield and 3 Iron Guards. It's a consistent list.
Hits hard, can take a
It's
hit.
the right number of Vault Warden teams. It's a good number of Half Guard. The total model count is not unreasonably small.
Yeah.
And the heroes are consistent.
You feeling right?
Absolutely right. What?
You feeling right?
No, I'm just quite on here.
Yeah, I'll tell you. That's fine.
No, we're done. Just keep going.
Ah, okay.
No, really don't.
I think sometimes people make the mistake of taking too many half guard, and then they pour all their points into this basket. It's a slow basket. If people can avoid the half guard, then they can kind of focus on the rest of the list. There's a sprinkle of everything here. Like you said, rule of 3, good number of Vault Warden teams, and just enough bows that no one's going to try and just play Avoidance all game long. So, good luck with that, Tristan. We've got Tyler.
Interesting. Rivendell Numenor, the classic Last Alliance list. I've played this in the past, a very similar list as well. Obviously, we've got Elendil and a horse with shield. Interestingly, Elendil being the leader, at least as far as I'm aware here. 4 Numenorians with spear and shield, 3 with bow. And spear, Curtin on his own with a Rivendell Knight. And then Gil-galad with 1 Rivendell Knight with blade, spear, and banner. Then we've got 3 Rivendell Knights, Kingsguard, so the rest are Kingsguard, so we've got 3 with sword and shield, 2 with spear and bow, and 4 with spear and shield, all fight 6. I love the Kingsguard here.
Yeah.
Kingsguard are fantastic. I think they work really, really well with the Numenorians.
Elendil and Gil-galad are just nice together. I know they're not the most survival of the big hitters in... I mean, I think it's 200 points for Elendil on horse with shield.
Yeah, he's
but thematically it works. They hit hard. I mean, what else is there to say, really?
Yeah, I think the only change I would have made is I probably would have gone Gil-galad as the leader if Elendil is the leader, just because you get that Lord of the West, which hopefully makes you a bit more consistent. But I certainly don't fault him for taking Elendil as leader. He's still hard to kill.
Yeah, I think I personally agree with that. As you know, he gets the free heroic combat. He's got the +1 to wound. He still is the same as Gil-galad with the the 1 fate and the 3 wounds on horse. But Gil-galad has got those Rivendell high war.
No horse for Gil-galad that I can see here.
Oh,
yeah,
I
I
haven't picked that up.
Yeah. So look, I mean, we've had a couple of errors on the list. I'm assuming if there's no horse there, it's going to stay as no horse. But it's interesting to see the spears on every Numenori. So it looks like you could definitely do that. Fight 6 front, strength 4 behind. In fact, most things have spears from what I can see. So you could honestly swap between the 2. But survivability, the Rivendell Kingsguard are probably better for it. But interesting choice, Gil-galad without the horse, because he beats with the horse.
I almost think that's an error. I'm curious to see if that is, but it is certainly...
Guess we'll find out on the day.
It is certainly an option.
We've got Wade with Servant Horde and Mordor, and once again, it's a combination we've seen a couple of times.
A stacked Witch King.
That Witch King is... yeah. He's thick.
It's a thick one.
Witch King of Agma.
But I want to note that even for all the Witch Kings we've seen, there's only been one with
15 or more.
Morgul Blade.
One with Morgul Blade.
That is true. Yeah.
I think, and I don't blame them for not taking a Morgul Blade, but at 700 points, Smaug's going to be out there.
Look, I'm happy to see a good mix of African Merchant Guard.
It's not even Smaug. It's just big hitters, things that are going to cause a lot of problems with a lot of wounds. And this is nice, but does it answer those really high number of wound models?
It can.
It can, and that's what I'm saying.
It's just without the blade, is it as consistent?
But yeah, I do like the breakdown of the warriors
Yep.
that he's taken. So
More watches. Never complain about more
the
watches.
watches,
They're
the
great.
guard. It's a nice total number of models.
Yep.
And I think that Wade's built himself a nice consistent list, and we know how we feel about consistent lists.
And just a couple of Vargros is always a nice touch because you get in more than one model in most cases for that. So it's nice. Well, Rivendell and White Cancel. Interesting. This is so obviously Alain and Saruman the White, or that's the main contingent, I suppose. So he's your leader, has to be. Alain in Glorfindel with all the toys, a good contingent of warriors with a mix of shield, spear, a banner, and 2 knights. And then Gildor and Glorian with a mix, not just Noldor and Exiles, a couple of Exiles, but not too many. And then a mix of a couple of warriors, actual high elf warriors with bows, and just 2 high elf warriors with nothing. Just that's it.
Yeah, Will's taken an interesting tact here. I don't know whether I've ever seen Gildor not just with Noldorian Exiles.
Yeah.
So that's...
Pretty sure you can. I don't think it says you can't.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I
He's
know.
a Rivendell hero, you can take whatever you want.
I just think I've never seen people not give him the additional move.
In my head, I didn't think it was an option.
Yeah. So, interesting choice there, because you could have fit most of them in Glorfindel's Warband. I think the addition of the Spellcaster on Saruman, solid choice.
You could put Saruman in any list. He does his work.
Yeah, I am curious about putting Saruman as a leader instead of Glorfindel. I don't know what the best option there is.
He's arguably the best support caster for a hero like
Both
Glorfindel.
in terms of support caster, and he's got the... I just feel like he's got a bit more survivability when you can just go Glorfindel, charge.
Kill. Yeah, that's fair.
Here's my 2+ and mobilize so that nothing can touch you with a reroll. Like,
If you need to be casting Terrifying Aura or whatever it is, you can...
Simply put, I just think this will do more than what it looks like it does on paper. I think it'll do.
I think it's a well-designed list from Will.
Yeah. I think we've got one more.
One more indeed.
Xavier, I believe, is his full first name. Lothlorien and Fellowship. And, mate, we've heard of Bath Bombs. We haven't actually touched on the Boromir Bomb.
Boz Bombs.
The Boz Bomb.
Bombs.
So we've got Galadriel. A mix, a solid mix. There's Galadriel warriors of shield, spear and shield, and bow. A sentinel, banner on the Galadriel warrior with spear, and then some court guard. Always nice to have a little bit of pike support there. Then you've got Haldir with the bow and armor, so he's armored up. 4 Galadriel with shield, equal mix with spear and shields, and equal mix with bow, so very 4-4-4. And then a 1 wood elf with bow, which could be for points difference, but it's just a nice little touch to have one guy with an elven cloak running around. And then Boromir with horse and shield. This is Fellowship Boromir, so bargain budget, 100 points exactly, or 105? Just like you send him to something and it dies because you've got 6 might.
It's one of those things where I think the only change that I would like to make to this list is, as we've said before, the second Sentinel. The reason that I feel the second Sentinel is more valuable is actually that both Sentinels are working for Boromir. If you can pull something out that Boromir can hit and then heroic combat off into their back line, or a shaman, or a hero, or something else, that's where you're getting your 6 might points worth out of Boromir.
It's nice that they're green allies as well. I'm pretty sure Fellowship is green allies, which means you still get all the resistant magic. And Galadriel, I wish it could give Fate to Boromir. It would be really nice if is it Blessing of the Valor that gives back Fate? But I think it only regains. I don't believe it.
Blessing of the Valor regains Fate.
Yeah. So pity that there's not a lot of synergy there in terms of Galadriel's spell niche spell repertoire. Yeah. But it's still Boromir. 100 point Boromir with 6 points of might.
It's just Boromir with no Fate.
I say just. It's send him into somewhere and he'll do something with 6 might.
It's
Boromir to problem.
Yeah, pretty well. So that is the last of the list.
Oh my god, we made it.
We made it.
This has been
it was flawless.
By Raid Shadow Legends, just so you know.
There's not a single mistake was made. We didn't get anything wrong, or our math was correct all the time.
Yep, I'm sure all that editing will go really well.
We stayed seated for 5 hours or so. No one left at any point to use the bathroom. We'll get more.
Not. I've been shitting myself sitting here for 5 minutes, so it's not my couch. I don't particularly care. And also, that massive piss in your cat litter box was in fact your cat.
Thought it tasted funny.
Mom, can you pick me up?
His cat's been dead for 2 weeks.
General thoughts? I mean,
look, I'm really looking forward to Masters. Adam always puts on a great event.
he does.
I'm looking forward to the goodie bags. I'm looking forward to the bar. I'm looking forward to the meals.
The raffle prizes are incredible. Good cause for the raffle.
I'm looking forward to seeing Adam. I love Adam.
I mean, look, I think it needs to be said. Adam puts in so. Every cheer puts in so much work. Adam, I thought he put in a lot of work last year. I think he's going even more above and beyond this year.
And the other thing to mention is, I thought in April of this year, when Clash had 62 players,
that would hit
that would be a record that would stand for
a long time.
Years.
We're currently on, I think it's 81 players with a couple more to submit lists. Obviously, you know, things happen leading up to events. Everyone knows that. But it's still the biggest turnout in Australia that we've had for Middle Earth exclusively.
And it's a shout out to obviously Adam for the way that he's organised the tournament.
And for giving us the list to go through as well.
But it's also a shout out to the other tournaments around. So congratulations to TazGT, who've run with 24-ish with a great success.
Fantastic results.
Queensland.
They'll be doing now or tomorrow,
actually. By the time this comes out, it'll probably be ongoing, the GT.
And it's a real shout out to the fact that the community for a game that was declared dead however many years ago is getting to record-setting numbers in terms of tournaments.
And look, for all those out there that are crying for help, I'm sure there'll be a release before the end of the year.
Anyway, you want to see a slightly larger version of On the Road?
What do you mean?
Anyway, do you like hobbits?
Do you like print lines?
Do you like bad on-sprue models?
Look, I think we'll wrap it up there. I say that. Any other shout-outs? I mean, it's the month of GTs and Master events. It's we've got an incredible spread of Army lists and Guahi lists.
It is
and Smaug.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so if you know, I won't go there.
I like a lot of lists I see. I'll be the first to say I also don't like a lot of the lists I see. Am I afraid of any lists in particular? No, I think there's a good spread. I think there are lists that, obviously, you know, matchups will determine things, but I think it's just nothing I'm terribly afraid of, but also nothing that I'm super confident I can, you know, obliterate all in one go. What about you guys?
I mean, as a Smaug player, I'm quite scared of facing Smaug.
Yes, I'm really excited to see Smaug played against Smaug. I will be disappointed if that doesn't come up throughout the tournament.
Look, it's the year of the dragon.
It is in fact the year of the dragon.
Is it actually though?
I don't think
it's
so.
it's the year of the...
Rabbit?
Nah, I think it's ox, I think.
It's the year of anything but what we've just said.
Anyway,
1 in 12, am I right?
What I will finish off with is, again, buy some raffle tickets. It goes to a good cause, really close to my heart. You know, Beyond Blue goes towards, you know, people with mental health issues, depression.
Which is all of us here.
I have some severe mental health issues, yes.
And if you're still listening at this point in this podcast, get a hobby.
Why don't you get a fucking life? And also, shut up, Kylie. Anyway, so buy some raffle tickets. It's been great to talk with you guys. It's been great to go through your lists. Please fill the comments with discussions, and I'll tell you to fuck off in the responses.
Signing out, thanks for the long putting up with the long break between podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. We have to... This is probably the biggest list reveal that's ever been done for any Australian tournament, so you're just going to have to deal with how disjointed and unedited, because I guarantee you, unhinged, unedited, this is going to be how many interruptions, cats, and...
But would it be Australian if it wasn't unhinged and edited?
Look, I think this will be banned on UK YouTube.
Oh boy.
Your region does not allow this.
If this gets banned from the GBHL,
it'll make it better, right?
We'll be much happier.
Shout out to GBHL for keeping the community toxic. Now it will be banned.
Fuck you, signing off.
And
see you next year.
And for banning Australia.
See you.
So do we have like a call?
Is that something we should call out?
A sign, like a call off sign, or whatever it's called?
Should we call that out before we sign off? Or?
Yeah, what's our sign off thing? What are we gonna say?
Hold on.
I can't say transferring games because like I just hear Kylie in my head when I'm sleeping.
I was gonna say fuck you, and that was the sign off. But are we talking about?
I don't know what our sign off. It's been 12 months. I don't know what our sign off is.
So
anyway,
thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the reignited moving pictures version of A Shortcut to Mushrooms. We will probably, and there's no promises because I'm sure we will bail on it, we'll probably come back with a Postmasters recap of Smaugathon.
Oh.
And if we don't care, fuck you. And that's it. Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
good sign off.
Yeah.
We don't care. Fuck you.
I